Chapter 1. A Prodigy Hidden in Plain Sight. The training yard behind the academy hummed with noise. Wooden kunai clattered against practice dummies. The thud of sandals striking earth echoed, and instructors barked out orders to restless children. It was supposed to be another routine day at the Ninja Academy. Except today, one boy had everyone's eyes on him. Naruto Uzumaki stood apart from the crowd. His blonde hair caught the sun. His grin was wide, and his cerulean eyes gleamed with an energy that seemed endless. He bounced on the balls of his feet while waiting his turn for the morning's exercise. Kunai accuracy. 5 throws each, Irika Umino called out, clipboard in hand. Hit as close to center as you can. The first students stepped forward one by one. Most landed their kunai somewhere on the target, but few came near the bullseye. Then came Sasuke Uchiha, the one the class usually admired. His throws landed in a tight grouping just off-center, drawing murmurs of approval. He stepped back, calm and smug. Then it was Naruto's turn. Some students whispered, expecting him to mess up. Others smirked. Naruto ignored them all. He breathed in, lifted the kunai with casual ease, and in one fluid motion thunk, 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 thunk. 5 blades buried themselves dead center, one stacked almost on top of the other. The yard went silent. Even Irika lowered his clipboard. Naruto scratched his cheek, feigning embarrassment. Heh, guess I overdid it? Irika coughed. And no, that was exemplary. Mizuki, standing nearby, frowned but kept quiet. The boy's precision was frightening. Most children with large chakra reserves had poor control, spilling energy everywhere, but Naruto. He wielded his vast chakra with surgical neatness. The next test was chakra leaf balancing. Each student placed a leaf on their forehead, the goal to hold it steady with chakra flow. Many wobbled or dropped it within seconds. Sasuke lasted a full minute before his leaf drifted to the ground. He stood proud, until Naruto strolled up, tossed a leaf onto his forehead, then added 2 more, one on each palm. Gasps rippled across the class. Naruto stood there, eyes half-lidded, the 3 leaves unmoving. He even grinned and wiggled his eyebrows for effect. Minutes passed, and the leaves didn't so much as tremble. Enough, Irika said finally, masking his amazement. You can stop now, Naruto. Naruto tilted his head. Oh, sorry, kinda forgot they were even there. He flicked the leaves away, smiling as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Around him, the other students shifted uncomfortably. Most were too young to understand why Naruto was disliked by adults. They only knew that something about him drew cold stares from parents and teachers in hushed tones. Seeing him excel where they struggled stung like salt on a wound. Show off, one boy muttered. Lucky, another scoffed. But the instructors knew luck had nothing to do with it. They exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't just talent. This was brilliance, sharper and clearer than any academy student had a right to be. Naruto, oblivious or pretending to be, threw his hands behind his head and laughed. Guess that means I passed, right? Irika hesitated, then gave a small nod. Yes, you passed. As the class moved on to the next drill, the whispers followed Naruto. Some voices carried awe, others resentment. Naruto didn't mind. He walked with a spring in his step, his grin unshaken. But in the shadow of the academy wall, Mizuki leaned toward Irika and muttered under his breath. He's outgrowing this place. At this rate, he'll make the rest look like children. Irika frowned. He is a child. Mizuki's eyes narrowed. Not for long. Naruto, meanwhile, had already skipped ahead, humming a tuneless song as if none of the world's doubts could touch him. Yet behind that carefree grin lay something more. Endless nights of practice, an iron will, and a memory as sharp as a blade. And it had all started years before. Flashback. Long before the sun crept over Konoha's rooftops, a small figure was already awake. Naruto's sandals slapped lightly against the damp grass of Training Ground 3. The village was still asleep, lanterns extinguished, market stalls shuttered. Only the chirp of insects and the rustle of leaves kept him company. He liked it this way, quiet, empty, no stares, no mutters. He crouched in the shadows, watching. Last night, a squad of Chunin had trained here. Naruto had hidden himself behind a tree, wide-eyed as they sparred, their hands flashing through seals and bodies darting like blurs. He remembered every movement. He always remembered. Now, alone, he imitated them. Fingers twisted, palms pressed, hands flicked through sequences far too complex for a child. His tongue poked out in concentration. Once, twice. By the third try, his motions flowed without stumbling. Ram, snake, tiger, he whispered. His chakra flared, heavy and vast. But instead of sputtering wildly, it settled, controlled. The substitution jutsu snapped into place with a puff of smoke. A log appeared where he had stood. Naruto grinned. Nailed it. He didn't stop there. He practiced until sweat plastered his shirt to his back. When his legs trembled, he pushed harder. His body healed quickly, his energy seemingly endless. Where another child would have collapsed, Naruto caught his breath, laughed, and tried again. That stamina was his secret weapon. It let him keep at something until the technique became second nature. His memory filled in the rest, recalling every detail he'd glimpsed from real shinobi. But for all his energy, the training ground felt empty when the excitement faded. Naruto would pause, kunai in hand, staring at the village rooftops in the distance. He thought of how storekeepers turned him away with tight lips, how mothers pulled children aside when he passed, how no one ever answered when he asked, why? The silence that followed him everywhere was heavier than his training weights. Still, he forced a grin, shaking it off. Doesn't matter, he told the empty air. I'll just get so good they can't ignore me. His words rang hollow in the stillness, but he believed them with all his heart. As dawn broke, he dragged himself home, an apartment barely big enough for his tiny frame and his oversized dreams. His stomach growled. Breakfast was instant ramen again, the only thing he could afford. He slurped noisily, eyes bright despite the meager meal. Naruto tied a leaf to his forehead and balanced another on each palm. While he ate, his chakra held them steady. He practiced even while chewing noodles, giggling when not a single leaf quivered. For him, there was no difference between training and living. Every waking moment was a chance to get stronger, sharper, faster. Flashback end. By the time the academy bell rang that morning, Naruto was already far ahead of his classmates. Not because anyone guided him, not because anyone encouraged him, but because he refused to stop. That relentless drive, hidden beneath his grin, was why he stood at the top of the academy so easily. Naruto's brilliance wasn't born in the classroom. It was carved in lonely mornings, sleepless nights, and a boy's stubborn refusal to break. And soon it would push him somewhere few ever reached at his age. Word of Naruto's unusual progress had traveled quickly among the academy instructors. His performance left them unsettled. No 7-year-old should have chakra control like that, nor reflexes sharp enough to rival their own. Eventually, the question reached the Hokage's desk. What to do with a child who had already surpassed his peers? Hiruzen Sarutobi considered carefully. Then he ordered, "Test him. Not with his class, but with those about to graduate. If he passes, he graduates. If not, he returns to study. Simple as that." And so, Naruto found himself standing in the academy's largest hall, surrounded by students 2 and 3 years older than him. The graduating class whispered and snickered, pointing at the boy who barely reached some of their shoulders. What's this? Did the brat wander in here by mistake? Maybe he's the Hokage's pet project. Don't waste our time, kid. Naruto ignored them, his headbandless forehead gleaming with sweat from excitement. His grin never faltered. Irika stepped forward, expression stern but not unkind. This will be a 3-part test, he announced. Written exam, taijutsu spar, and ninjutsu demonstration. The same standards applied to everyone here will be applied to you, Naruto Uzumaki. Do you understand? Yes, sir, Naruto barked, hands clasped behind his head in his usual carefree pose. Some of the older students laughed, but when the exams began, the laughter died. Scrolls and ink brushes were passed around. Questions lined the parchment: chakra theory, battle tactics, history of the clans, codes of conduct. Students groaned and hunched over their work. Naruto twirled his brush between his fingers, eyes scanning the paper. He remembered late nights poring over borrowed books, every page devoured and committed to memory. Words and diagrams filled his mind with startling clarity. He wrote quickly, confidently, no hesitation. When the proctor called time, Naruto set down his brush with a satisfied sigh, stretching his arms. Students nearby glanced at his scroll. Tidy handwriting, complete answers, even notes in the margins. Irika's eyes widened when he skimmed the boy's work. These weren't guesses. They were precise, thoughtful answers. In some places, Naruto had gone beyond the expected response. The next stage was physical. A ring was drawn in the dirt, and one by one, graduates faced each other under an instructor's eye. When Naruto stepped into the circle, his opponent, a tall boy nearly twice his weight, snorted. "Try not to cry when I knock you down." Naruto just grinned wider. "Begin." The boy charged, fists swinging. Naruto slipped past them effortlessly, his small frame weaving like water through gaps. His counters were sharp, each strike landing with precision that belied his age. He wasn't stronger than his opponent, but he didn't need to be. His stamina let him keep moving, his control made every motion efficient. Within moments, the older boy stumbled, panting, while Naruto barely looked winded. Then, with a single sweeping kick, Naruto sent him sprawling outside the ring. Gasps echoed across the hall. Some students whispered angrily, "How could a child do that?" Others stared in grudging respect. Naruto helped his opponent up with a grin. "Good fight." The boy shoved his hand away, red-faced, but the damage to pride was already done. Finally came the ninjutsu demonstration. Each graduate was expected to perform the 3 basic techniques: clone, substitution, and transformation. Most struggled with at least one. When Naruto's turn came, he stepped forward with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Clone jutsu. In an instant, 3 perfect replicas of himself appeared, solid, stable, indistinguishable from the original. Not a flicker of distortion, not a wasted wisp of chakra. The instructors leaned forward, startled. Substitution jutsu. A smoke puff, a blur, and Naruto reappeared behind his examiner, a log left in his place. The switch was seamless, so clean it looked like a Jonin had performed it. Transformation jutsu. With a small poof, Naruto stood as the Hokage himself, every detail down to the wrinkles and pipe flawless. He even mimicked Hiruzen's slow, amused chuckle. The classroom erupted in laughter, and even the examiners cracked smiles. But beneath the humor, their shock was clear. The chakra control required for such polish at his age was almost unheard of. When Naruto dropped the transformation, panting lightly, he bowed. "How's that?" The head instructor cleared his throat, struggling to compose himself. "Naruto Uzumaki, you pass. You graduate." The room fell silent. Some of the graduating class stared in disbelief. Others scowled, muttering about unfairness. But none could deny what they had seen. Naruto tugged at the new headband Irika handed him, his grin splitting ear to ear. "Believe it," he shouted. The older students filed out, some casting him dark looks, others simply shaking their heads. Naruto ignored it all, bouncing on his heels, holding the headband like treasure. To him, it wasn't just a symbol of passing a test. It was proof that no matter what anyone whispered, no matter how the village stared, he was a shinobi now. And that meant he was one step closer to becoming Hokage. From the shadows at the back of the hall, Mizuki's eyes narrowed. So the demon brat really did it. 7 years old. He said nothing, but in his mind, he already knew this graduation would send ripples far beyond the academy walls. The Hokage's office was quiet save for the faint scratch of a brush against parchment. Hiruzen Sarutobi set his pipe aside, eyes drifting from the stacks of mission reports to the boy's name newly written on the graduation roster. Uzumaki Naruto, age 7, passed with distinction. It was a simple line, but it carried the weight of a storm. A knock came at the door. "Enter," Hiruzen called. The hinges creaked as Danzo Shimura stepped in, his cane tapping against the floor, his bandaged eye unreadable as ever. Behind him came Hamura and Koharu, their faces set in grim lines. They wasted no time with greetings. "You let him graduate?" Koharu asked sharply, folding her arms into her sleeves. Hiruzen exhaled smoke from his pipe, his gaze steady. "He earned it." Hamura frowned. "Perhaps, but this decision will not be without consequence. He is not just another child, Hiruzen. He is the Nine-Tails vessel." "The law is clear," Hiruzen said, his tone cool. "He is not the Nine-Tails. He is Naruto. Those who say otherwise risk execution." "Semantics," Koharu muttered. "No." Hiruzen's voice cut like steel. "It is truth, and I will not have him punished for the burden he carries." Danzo stepped forward, cane striking the floor with each step. "You defend him fiercely, old friend, but ask yourself this. Is the boy safe? You saw the exam reports. At 7 years old, his chakra control surpasses Chunin. His stamina is monstrous. He performed the 3 basic techniques flawlessly. This is not natural." "It is talent," Hiruzen replied simply. "It is danger," Danzo countered. His one visible eye hardened. "Power such as his cannot be left to chance. If guided properly, he could become the village's greatest weapon. Under my root, he would be sharpened into a blade to protect Konoha without hesitation." "You mean stripped of his will and turned into another tool," Hiruzen said, anger stirring beneath his calm. "I will not allow that." For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy as stone. Hamura cleared his throat. "Regardless of root, Danzo is not wrong about the risks. The villagers already mistrust the boy. They see him graduate younger than their own children, and resentment will grow. They do not know why he is feared, but they know enough to whisper. This could destabilize the academy system." "They will adapt," Hiruzen said. "They always have." Koharu shook her head. "And what of the clans? The Uchiha already feel marginalized. They take pride in their prodigy Itachi, the youngest graduate since Kakashi. Now suddenly the Jinchuriki surpasses even him? You risk fanning their discontent." Hiruzen's eyes narrowed slightly. "Itachi will not be threatened by a child's achievement. He is wise beyond his years." "But the clan is not Itachi," Danzo pressed. "The clan remembers every slight. This could be one more." Hiruzen leaned back, pipe in hand, gaze lifting to the portraits of Hokage lining the wall. "Naruto is not a pawn to be placed carefully on a board, nor a shadow to be hidden. He is a child who has worked harder than any I've seen, and he has earned the title of shinobi. That is all." Danzo's jaw tightened, but he bowed his head, voice low. "Then do not be surprised when his light draws shadows." The elders followed him out, their robes whispering across the floor. Left alone, Hiruzen stared again at Naruto's name. He had spoken with conviction, but the doubts gnawed at him. He knew the boy's brilliance was not ordinary. He knew the villagers' coldness would not soften easily, and he knew Danzo's words were not empty threats. Yet when he thought of Naruto, grinning ear to ear with his new headband, the doubt faded for a moment. That boy carried the fire of Minato and the spirit of Kushina. No matter what came, Hiruzen swore silently, he would protect Naruto's right to smile. Elsewhere in the village, word of the 7-year-old graduate spread quickly. Among the civilian families, it was little more than gossip. "The Hokage's favorite got special treatment," some muttered. "No wonder he passed." Among the shinobi, it stirred more complex feelings. Some scoffed, others admired. A few, especially among the ANBU, quietly admitted respect. Skill was skill, no matter the vessel. And in the Uchiha compound, Fugaku Uchiha received the news with narrowed eyes. "Itachi was the youngest graduate in decades," one clansman murmured. "Now this boy surpasses even him." Fugaku said nothing, but his silence was telling. The Uchiha had always measured themselves against the village's prodigies. For another to emerge, one outside their clan, one carrying the Nine-Tails, was a slight that would not be forgotten easily. Even Itachi, quiet and composed, paused when he heard. He had never cared for rivalry, Yet he understood the storm this would create. His clan's pride was fragile, and Naruto's rise threatened to shatter it further. In a shaded room beneath the village, Danzo addressed his rude operatives. "The boy has graduated," he told them. "Hiruzen will guard him jealously, but keep your eyes on him. Watch how he grows. Power such as his, it cannot be ignored forever." The masked figures bowed silently, vanishing into the darkness. The late afternoon sun bathed the village streets in warm light as Naruto bounded out of the academy, his brand new forehead protector gleaming proudly across his brow. He couldn't stop touching it, fingers brushing the cool metal as if to reassure himself it was real. "I did it," he thought, grinning so hard his cheeks hurt. "I'm a shinobi now." The streets bustled with merchants closing stalls and families heading home. As Naruto passed, conversations dipped, eyes followed, and the usual wall of silence pressed down on him. A mother pulled her child closer. A shopkeeper gave him a sharp glance before turning away. He noticed. He always noticed. But today it didn't pierce him the same way. Not when the headband rested on his forehead like proof that their whispers couldn't stop him. A pair of Chunin patrolling paused when they spotted him. For a moment, Naruto braced for the usual cold dismissal. But instead, one of them smirked and gave a nod. "So the brat actually graduated, huh? Didn't think he'd do it this young." His partner shrugged. "Can't argue with results." Naruto blinked. That wasn't scorn. That was acknowledgement. Small, faint, but real. He felt a swell in his chest and pumped a fist in the air. "Believe it. I'll be the best shinobi Konoha's ever seen," he declared, loud enough for everyone in earshot to hear. Some rolled their eyes. Others muttered. But a few shinobi passing by smiled faintly, amused at the boy's boundless energy. Naruto didn't care about the mutters. For once, he felt seen. He darted through the streets, leaping onto fences, running along railings, the headband bouncing against his forehead. Children his age stared from doorways and windows, whispering. They didn't know why adults always looked at him strangely, but now they saw something different. A boy barely older than them wearing the mark of a shinobi. To them, he looked untouchable. Naruto landed atop a rooftop, spreading his arms wide as the wind tugged at his jacket. The whole village sprawled before him, rooftops glowing orange in the setting sun. For the first time, it didn't look like a cage. It looked like something he could reach out and claim. "I did it, old man Hokage," he shouted toward the looming tower in the distance. "One step closer to being Hokage myself." His words scattered on the breeze, unheard by most. But in his heart, they were loud, a promise he carried to himself. Tomorrow, the whispers would return, and the stares would sting. But tonight, Naruto Uzumaki walked home with his head high, the weight of a headband making him taller than he had ever felt before. Chapter 2. The Copy Ninjas Team. The assignment board in front of the academy was a jangling clatter of parchment and possibility. Names were written and crossed out, ink seals stamped, and murmurs rose like wind through bamboo. For most kids, this was the day they imagined in secret. Who would they train under? Who would they fight beside? For Naruto Uzumaki, it was another bright, beating drum in his chest. He couldn't stop grinning. He still had the new headband warm against his forehead, the metal plate catching stray sunlight as he pushed through the crowd. People stepped aside, some with that practiced, chilly civility the adults reserved for him, others with a faint, reluctant respect that only came from watching skill. Naruto only noticed the latter. He walked like someone who had already earned something because he had. The board was chaos. Teams forming into 3s and 4s, Jonin names scrawled across the top of each grouping. Naruto scanned until a familiar handwriting met his eyes. Kakashi Hatake, 21. There was no pomp, no fanfare, just a neat column with 3 empty slots under the Jonin's name. Naruto's grin stretched wider. Kakashi Hatake. He'd heard the stories in snatches. The young prodigy, the man with the mask, the one who'd earned his reputation with a cool head and a blade's accuracy. Uzumaki, a voice said behind him. Erika, clipboard in hand, faintly worried but trying not to show it. You know he's not easy, right? Naruto waggled his fingers. I know. I'll be fine, Irika-sensei. He must be strong if he's Kakashi, right? Irika looked at Kakashi's name, then at Naruto's steady face. You better listen. And don't get reckless. I won't, Naruto said, earnest. Then he bounded forward like a ball of motion and pressed his palm to the empty slot beneath Kakashi's name. Two older students were already there, looking like they'd been plucked from the same class but years apart in experience and attitude. They turned, eyebrows lifting when they saw who had joined them. The first, tall, with neat hair and a book tucked under his arm, regarded Naruto with cautious curiosity. He was all angles and measured breath, the sort of boy who liked diagrams on paper more than the chaos of a spar. Teammate A. You're young, he said precisely. The second was louder. Broad-shouldered, cheeks a little scraped as if he'd been practicing jumps that morning, grin already forming into a challenge. He sneered just enough to cover his uncertainty. Teammate B. 7? That's a joke. This is a Jonin team, not a babysitting gig. Naruto blinked, then laughed. I'm not a joke. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'll make you look good. He stuck out a hand as if offering friendship and mischief. The gruff boy hesitated a second, then clasped it with a slap that hurt a little and pleased him a lot. The cautious boy only watched, expression folding into something like calculation. A soft chuckle cut between them. Kakashi stepped forward from the shade of a cedar, mask covering everything but his one visible eye and the slow tilt of his posture. He looked hardly older than 20, but his gaze carried the kind of long-exercised patience that belonged to men who had already made hard decisions. You three, Kakashi said, voice low and even. He tapped his scroll once as if to measure them. I'm Kakashi. We run drills, we run missions, and we learn to not get idiots killed. Got it? Yes, sir. Naruto's answer came before the others. A bright, serious declaration that filled the space. The taller boy gave a small nod. The brash one rolled his eyes but didn't voice dissent. Kakashi's eye flicked to Naruto's forehead protector, then to the boy's stance, easy, unforced. He tucked a hand into his vest, fingertips finding the smoothness of a kunai's hilt absent-mindedly. There was something in the way Naruto breathed, a steady economy to his movements that suggested more than raw energy. The Jonin's inspection tightened almost imperceptibly. You'd better be able to keep up, Kakashi murmured. Age doesn't matter out here, only decisions and timing. Naruto's grin never faltered. I'll do more than keep up. He bounced on the balls of his feet, eyes bright and untroubled. We'll be the best team ever. Kakashi's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite anything, but the corner of his eye softened. He had seen many bright things, most burned out after a while. This boy's light was different, steady around the edges. As Kakashi turned toward the training ground to begin the first drills, his gaze lingered. He could already feel the shape of the team forming. Two older boys tempered by one impossibly young spark. Kakashi's mind cataloged their strengths and gaps in a single breath. At the back of that list, almost as an afterthought, he noted Naruto's chakra signature, vast, steady, almost obscene for a child. He filed that away like a curious fact. Then, with his usual calm, he led them forward. The field waited. The test would begin. The training ground stretched out in front of them, a clearing ringed by tall trees that whispered in the afternoon breeze. Wooden targets stood at uneven distances, their centers scarred from countless kunai. Flat stones dotted the earth near a shallow stream, places meant for balance drills. The smell of trampled grass and metal shavings lingered in the air, a place made for shinobi, not children. Kakashi stopped in the middle of the field, hands buried in his pockets, posture loose but gaze sharp. His single eye swept across his three new students. Before I decide what to do with you, he said, voice calm, I want to see what you can do with yourselves. The brash boy, teammate B, grinned, twirling a kunai with a flourish that was more bravado than skill. Finally, been waiting to show off. The cautious one, teammate A, adjusted the strap of his pouch and swallowed hard, muttering something under his breath about proper form. Naruto bounced on his heels, practically vibrating. So, test time, right? I'm ready. Kakashi tilted his head slightly. We'll start simple. Accuracy test. 5 kunai, center of the target. They lined up. Teammate B went first, hurling his weapons with more strength than control. 2 kunai hit the target, 1 clipped the outer ring, and the last 2 sank into the dirt well short of the mark. He scowled, pretending it didn't matter. Teammate A followed, taking his time, each throw deliberate. 3 kunai landed near the center, 2 drifted off. Not terrible, not excellent. Then Naruto stepped forward. He didn't pause, didn't frown. He just drew, threw, and in 5 quick motions, each kunai buried itself dead center. Not clustered around it, through it, would cracked under the strain. Silence followed. Teammate B's mouth twisted. Teammate A blinked, as if recalculating. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, laughing. Guess I got lucky. Kakashi said nothing, but his eye narrowed slightly. Luck didn't leave a pattern like that. Next, Kakashi continued, control. Leaf exercise. He handed each of them a single green leaf plucked from a nearby branch. Keep it stuck to your forehead with chakra. No hands. The 2 older boys pressed their leaves down and closed their eyes, concentrating. Teammate B's leaf fell almost instantly, and he cursed under his breath. Teammate A lasted nearly a minute before his chakra faltered and the leaf slipped sideways. Naruto placed the leaf on his forehead, then without hesitation added 1 to each palm. He held all 3 steady while turning to watch his teammates with a broad grin. Is this good enough? He asked cheerfully. The leaves didn't twitch. Teammate B muttered something dark. Teammate A stared. Kakashi's gaze sharpened again. Children with Naruto's chakra reserves usually struggled with fine control, too much spilling over, too little precision. Yet here the boy was, splitting it 3 ways as if it were effortless. Good, Kakashi said simply. His tone gave away nothing. Last, sparring. 1 at a time. Teammate B volunteered instantly, eager to prove himself. He charged at Naruto, swinging fists clumsily. Naruto moved smoothly, sliding around the attacks, redirecting with simple steps and nudges. His counters were sharp enough to sting but never cruel. Within a minute, Teammate B was flat on his back, panting and red-faced. Teammate A hesitated but stepped forward when Naruto offered an encouraging grin. The cautious boy fought with better form, but his strikes lacked confidence. Naruto met him evenly, adjusting his pace to draw him out, even calling small tips mid-spar. Shift your weight. Yeah, like that. In the end, Naruto tapped his shoulder lightly, signaling victory without humiliation. Both teammates stood off to the side afterward, catching their breath. Their glances were conflicted, resentment tangled with reluctant acknowledgement. Naruto just bounced in place, hands on his hips. That was fun. You guys are good. Neither believed him, but something in his tone softened the sting. Kakashi stepped forward at last. Unreadable. That will do. He paused, considering. Your strengths are obvious, and your weaknesses are also obvious. But none of that matters without teamwork. Remember that. Naruto tilted his head. So, are we doing a team thing next? Of course. Kakashi's voice was smooth, quiet. I didn't take this squad to watch you throw kunai. The real test comes now. He gestured toward the far side of the training ground, where a small scroll lay tied to a post. Your task. Defend that scroll from me. Work together. If I take it, you fail. The 2 older boys tensed, already whispering doubts. Naruto just grinned, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Finally! Kakashi studied him just for a moment. The boy wasn't afraid, not hesitant, not even reckless, just ready. The Jonin's lips curved faintly beneath his mask. This was going to be interesting. The scroll tied to the post fluttered faintly in the breeze, its red cord snapping like a warning. It looked ordinary, but Kakashi's voice made it sharp as steel. That's your mission, he said. Defend the scroll from me for 30 minutes. If I take it, you fail. One of the older boys, thin, neat-haired, and pale, shifted uneasily. 30 minutes against you? That's impossible. The other, broad-shouldered with scuffed knuckles, snorted, spinning his kunai with reckless bravado. Ha! He's just trying to scare us. I bet I can stall him longer than either of you. Kakashi's visible eye curved in that lazy arc that was never quite a smile. You catch on quick. The neat one frowned, anxious. We're not supposed to be fighting Jonin. This isn't. Oi, teammate. Naruto cut in with a grin, hands on his hips. Don't sweat it. We've got this. Both older boys blinked at him. Teammate. The nervous one repeated. Naruto tilted his head innocently. Well, yeah, I don't know your names yet, so I had to call you something, right? The broad one barked a laugh. You've been training with us all morning and you still don't know who we are? Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. Guess I got too excited. So, what are your names? The pale boy pinched the bridge of his nose, muttering, unbelievable. Then, reluctantly, Renji Takeda. The broad-shouldered one puffed his chest. Daichi Morita. Naruto's grin stretched wide. Renji and Daichi. Got it. He punched the air. Nice to meet ya, teammates. Daichi scowled. This isn't a game, kid. We're up against Kakashi Hatake. Everyone knows who he is. We don't stand a chance. Naruto leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Who cares if he's Kakashi? We don't need to beat him, we just need to stop him. Big difference. Renji frowned, uncertain. And how do you propose we do that? Easy. Naruto crouched and started scratching lines into the dirt with his finger. He marked the scroll at the center, then drew arrows toward it. He's fast, right? So he'll go for the scroll quick. That means you, teammate A. Renji twitched. It's Renji. Right, Renji. Naruto grinned. You stay by the scroll. You're steady. Hold the line, make him work for it. And you, he jabbed at Daichi. You're loud and fast. Make him look your way. Pull his attention off the scroll. Loud, Daichi snapped. Yeah, that's a compliment, Naruto said brightly. And me? I'll hit him with something he can't ignore. Renji blinked at him. Naruto didn't sound like a kid pretending to be clever. He sounded like someone who'd done this before. Like a seasoned shinobi who had seen fights unfold. You talk like a Chunin, Renji said carefully. Naruto shook his head, grin undimmed. Nope, I just pay attention. Trust me, we can do this if we stick together. Daichi made a noise in his throat, still skeptical, but his bravado had dimmed. Renji hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. Naruto's certainty was like a spark. It caught, just enough to light them both. Time's up, Kakashi's voice called from across the field. The Jonin hadn't moved from his lazy perch against a tree, but the weight of his gaze pressed down like iron. Defend your scroll. Renji moved stiffly to stand in front of the post, kunai clenched in nervous hands. Daichi crouched in the underbrush, his scowl covering the tension in his shoulders. Naruto strode forward to the front, headband gleaming, his stance loose but balanced, eyes fixed on Kakashi. Kakashi's gaze lingered on him, the boy's grin steady and unshaken. Not afraid, he murmured. Not reckless, just ready. Then he vanished. The test began. The instant Kakashi vanished, the training ground fell silent. Leaves stirred, branches creaked, but there was no sign of him. Where? Renji whispered, eyes darting across the clearing. Naruto crouched, scanning the tree-line with a focus that seemed out of place on his round face. Don't panic. He's fast, but he's still one guy. Eyes up. Listen. Daichi snorted from the brush. You talk like you know what you're doing. Naruto grinned without looking back. I do. The words weren't boastful. They were matter-of-fact, confident in a way that made both older boys stiffen. Then Kakashi struck. A blur of gray and steel dropped from above, kunai glinting. Renji yelped, fumbling his weapon up to block, but Kakashi didn't press the strike. He landed lightly in front of the post, hand already reaching. Now, Naruto barked. Renji moved without thinking, stabbing forward. His kunai met only air as Kakashi sidestepped easily, but the moment of delay was enough. Daichi burst from the underbrush with a roar, swinging wide and reckless. Kakashi ducked under the strike, flowing like water. His hand flicked up, tapping Daichi's forehead protector with 2 fingers. Dead. Daichi growled, stumbling back. TCH. Don't waste your anger, Naruto shouted. His eyes tracked Kakashi, movements sharp, calculating. Renji, keep the scroll covered. Daichi, circle wide, make him split his focus. Don't go head on. Daichi's teeth clenched, but he obeyed, darting back into the brush. Renji steadied himself in front of the post, knuckles white around his kunai. Kakashi's eye curved faintly. You're loud but organized. Not bad. He flickered, vanishing in a blur. Renji gasped as Kakashi reappeared behind him, hand reaching for the scroll. Naruto was already there. He slid between them, intercepting with a sharp kick that forced Kakashi to pivot aside. The impact cracked like wood snapping. Naruto landed light, kunai drawn, stance solid. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. His movements had been fast, deceptive, the kind of thing even trained Chunin struggled to follow. Yet this boy had read him. You're not supposed to see that coming, Kakashi murmured. Naruto grinned. You're not supposed to be that predictable. For the first time, Kakashi's eye sharpened. He moved again, faster, pressing Naruto with a series of strikes. Kunai met kunai, steel sparking. Naruto bent, ducked, wove, his small body slipping just out of reach. Every movement was efficient, no wasted energy, no panic. He didn't look like a child improvising. He looked like someone who had done this before. Renji stared, stunned. He's fighting like an adult. Daichi growled from the brush, throwing shuriken to force Kakashi to turn. The Jonin tilted his head. The weapons whistled past harmlessly. Naruto seized the opening. He leapt back, hands blurring through seals. 3, fast and crisp. Kakashi's eye widened a fraction. So few? Naruto inhaled sharply. Chakra compressed in his lungs, refined and sharpened with delicate control. Futon. Subame Ryuden. The clearing cracked with sound. Bang, bang, bang. Invisible bullets screamed through the air, tearing the ground in neat holes, splintering bark from tree trunks. One shot blasted a chunk of earth where Kakashi had stood a heartbeat earlier. Kakashi flickered sideways, cloak snapping. Another bullet sliced past, gouging the bark behind him. Bang, bang, bang. Each shot carried lethal intent. A single hit would have punched clean through flesh and bone. Blocking was impossible. Steel would crumble. Dodging was the only option. Renji flinched at the sound, eyes wide. That could kill someone. Daichi's jaw dropped. What the hell kind of jutsu is that? Naruto's grin was feral, sweat beading on his brow as he fired in controlled bursts. The bullets cracked like rifle fire, each one precise, measured, not a single wasted shot. Kakashi wove between them, his movements sharp, economical, serious now. His lazy air was gone. The boy was forcing him to try. A bullet grazed his vest, punching a clean hole through the reinforced flak. Kakashi froze mid-step, glancing down at the neat tear. His eye narrowed. That would have gone through a man's chest like paper. Naruto kept firing, rhythm steady. He wasn't throwing chakra around wildly, he was balancing it, metering the pressure perfectly each time. For a boy with monstrous reserves, this kind of restraint was unheard of. Finally, Kakashi closed the distance in a flicker, appearing behind Naruto. 2 fingers tapped the boy's shoulder. Dead. The last bullet whistled harmlessly into the woods, punching a hole clean through a tree. Silence. Renji's chest heaved. Daichi's eyes were still wide. Naruto panted lightly, sweat streaking his temple. Then he laughed, bright and fearless. Heh, almost had you. Kakashi stepped back, eye unreadable. Almost. His gaze lingered on the boy, the neat hole in his vest a silent reminder. That jutsu of yours. Naruto beamed. Cool, right? Renji muttered, dazed. Cool? It's lethal. Daichi barked a laugh, shaking his head. Kid's insane. But both of them looked at Naruto differently now. Less scorn, more awe. Naruto didn't notice. He just stretched, grinning as if he hadn't nearly torn the clearing apart. So, did we pass? Kakashi didn't answer right away. He studied the boy's grin, the steadiness in his stance, the way his teammates unconsciously turned toward him now. You didn't win, Kakashi said finally. But you didn't need to. You worked as a team. And that's what mattered. Naruto pumped a fist in the air. Told you we could do it. Rinji exhaled slowly, tension bleeding out of his shoulders. Daichi gave a grudging nod. Kakashi's eye softened as he turned away. Inside, though, his thoughts churned. At 7, he's already innovating lethal jutsu. Already commanding a team. Already forcing me to dodge seriously. Most prodigies are solitary blades. This one, he wants to be a shield. A leader. His hand brushed the neat hole in his vest again. If he lives long enough, he won't just surpass me. He'll surpass everyone. The training field was quiet again, save for the rustle of leaves and the faint hiss of wind through the trees where Naruto's jutsu had carved its path. The scroll still sat tied to its post, untouched. Renji lowered his kunai with trembling fingers. His pale face was damp with sweat, his chest rising and falling in sharp pulls. Daichi emerged from the brush, scowl plastered across his face, but his wide eyes betrayed the shock he still hadn't shaken. Naruto stood in the middle of it all, bent slightly with exertion but grinning ear to ear, as if he hadn't just fired off a technique that could tear through a man like paper. See, Naruto said, hands on his hips. We did great. Renji stared at him. Great? He killed all 3 of us. Twice. Daichi jabbed a thumb at Naruto. And you? What the hell was that? That wind thing? Those bullets could have gone straight through me. Naruto laughed, not unkindly. That's why I didn't fire at you, dummy. Besides, you guys covered me so I could use it. Renji, if you hadn't stood your ground in front of the scroll, Kakashi-sensei would have had it before I finished the first seal. And Daichi, he grinned wide. You're so loud he actually had to look at you. That bought me time. Daichi blinked. You're saying I helped? Of course, Naruto said, utterly sincere. I couldn't do it alone. No way. That's why we're a team, right? Rinji's mouth opened, then closed again. He'd expected mockery, dismissal, arrogance. Anything but this easy, earnest praise. His hands loosened around his weapon. Daichi scratched the back of his head, trying and failing to hide the faint curl of his lips. Humph. Guess being loud has its uses. Naruto punched his shoulder lightly. Exactly. You distracted a Jonin. That's awesome. The older boy's cheeks reddened slightly. He shoved Naruto back with a grumble, but the bite was gone from his voice. Kakashi watched from his lean against a tree, his hands buried in his pockets, single-eye hooded. He'd seen prodigies before, sharp, cold, distant. Itachi or even himself at that age. Talented children who walked alone, driven by their skill into solitude. But this boy was different. Naruto wasn't interested in standing above the others. He pulled them up with him whether they wanted it or not. Renji and Daichi weren't just students fumbling through drills anymore. In the space of an hour, he had turned them into something like a squad. All right, Kakashi said at last, his voice smooth but carrying. Enough sulking. You didn't win, but you didn't lose either. You showed teamwork. That matters more than anything else. Renji straightened, surprised by the rare note of approval. Daichi smirked, trying to look unimpressed but failing. Naruto just beamed, punching the air. Knew it! Kakashi pushed off the tree, his gaze resting on the boy's broad grin and his 2 older teammates standing a little taller than before. His eye softened. Minato-sensei, your son is different. He doesn't just shine. He makes others shine with him. Dismissed, Kakashi said, turning toward the village. Go get some food. You'll need it. Renji and Daichi shuffled after him, still murmuring between themselves. Naruto lingered for a moment, looking back at the post where the scroll still fluttered untouched. He clenched his small fist, determination etched across his young face. Next time, he muttered, eyes glinting, we'll really get him. Then he jogged off to join his teammates, his laughter echoing through the clearing. The Hokage's office smelled faintly of tobacco smoke and ink. Scrolls lay stacked on one side of the desk, mission reports on the other. Hiruzen Sarutobi leaned back in his chair, pipe in hand, his gaze shifting from paperwork to the young Jonin standing before him. Kakashi Hataki's expression was as unreadable as ever, half hidden behind his mask, but his stance carried none of its usual laziness. "So," Hiruzen prompted, voice calm but expectant, "how did they perform?" Kakashi's single eye flickered in faint amusement. "As expected, two of them are average. Decent foundation, shaky under pressure. Nothing unusual for fresh genin." Hiruzen exhaled a thin stream of smoke. "And the third?" For a moment, Kakashi didn't answer. His hand brushed the hole neatly torn in the chest of his vest. The fabric burned clean through. "Uzumaki Naruto," he said finally, voice even. 7 years old. Already beyond the word prodigy. Hiruzen's brow lifted, but he stayed silent, letting Kakashi continue. "He reads the battlefield like someone with years of experience. Gave orders without hesitation. His plan was simple but effective. He turned 2 panicked rookies into a functioning squad in less than 5 minutes. They actually believed him, trusted him. I can't name another child who could have pulled that off." Hiruzen tapped ash from his pipe. "And his combat ability?" Kakashi's gaze darkened slightly. "Monstrous. His chakra reserves already outstrip mine. His control is precise enough to perform delicate tasks with frightening consistency." And then, he hesitated as if choosing his words. He unveiled a jutsu I've never seen before. Wind nature. 3 seals. He compressed his chakra into high-pressure projectiles and fired them in volleys. Invisible until impact. Each one would punch straight through a human body. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed. "Self-created." Kakashi nodded. "No doubt. I've seen Jonin spend years crafting new techniques. Naruto has one before his 8th birthday." He touched the hole in his vest again. "I was forced to dodge seriously. That hasn't happened in years." Silence stretched. Smoke curled lazily between them. At last, Hiruzen spoke, his voice low. "What did you see in him, Kakashi?" Kakashi's eye softened. "Most prodigies are solitary blades. They sharpen themselves, cut everything around them, and leave only distance in their wake. Naruto isn't like that. He isn't interested in standing above others. He lifts them. Even when they resent him, even when they doubt him, he pulls them into his orbit. He makes them stronger just by being there." Hiruzen's gaze drifted to the wide window overlooking the village. Below, the rooftops glowed under the late sun, shadows stretching long. Somewhere down there, a boy with a blinding grin was laughing with teammates twice his age. "He has his father's brilliance," Kakashi murmured, almost to himself, "and his mother's fire. But more than that, he has something of his own. If he lives long enough, he'll be a game changer. No doubt in my mind." Hiruzen's lips curved into a small, wistful smile. "Then let us make sure he lives long enough." Kakashi bowed his head. "Yes, Lord Hokage." As the Jonin departed in silence, Hiruzen leaned back, eyes heavy with memory. He saw Minato's calm resolve, Kushina's fierce laughter, and in the middle of it, Naruto's grin blazing like a torch. Light brighter than any before. And Hiruzen thought grimly, light always drew shadows. Chapter 3, Blossoms in the Wind. Morning sunlight spilled over Konoha's rooftops, golden and warm, as Team Kakashi trudged through the village streets. Their headbands gleamed, but the looks on Renji and Daichi's faces were anything but proud. "Another cat," Daichi grumbled, kicking at a loose pebble. "Third time this week. We're shinobi, not dog catchers." Renji adjusted the strap of his pouch, expression taut. "It's not that simple. Missions are ranked for a reason. We have to prove reliability before they trust us with more serious work." "Reliability," Daichi barked a laugh. "I didn't sign up to polish floors or chase strays. I want real combat. Bandits, thieves, something with a blade in my hand." Naruto, walking ahead of them, turned back with a wide grin. "Then chase harder. Every mission's training if you think about it." Renji gave him a puzzled look. Training? To chase a house cat. Yeah, Naruto said brightly. Chakra control, reflexes, stamina. You think a cat's easier to catch than a bandit? At least bandits run straight. Cats zigzag, climb, bite. Way better practice. Daichi stared, then muttered, "You're insane," but there was no real heat behind it. By the time they reached the district where the wayward feline was last spotted, Naruto had already rolled up his sleeves. He darted between alleys and fences like lightning, scaling walls with practiced ease. Rinji and Daichi gave chase, but Naruto was everywhere at once. Bounding across rooftops, leaping down into yards, vaulting over crates. The cat hissed and bolted into a gap under a shed. Naruto crouched low, coaxing it with soft sounds, patient despite the scratches on his forearms. A moment later, he emerged victorious, the squirming animal tucked under his arm. "Mission complete," he crowed. Daichi wiped sweat from his brow, panting. How are you not tired?" Naruto tilted his head, grinning. "'Cause I make it fun. That's the trick." Rinji blinked, thoughtful despite himself. He treats even chores like serious training. No wonder he's so far ahead of us. The days blurred into a rhythm of small tasks. Clearing irrigation ditches, carrying bundles for the market, repairing fences. Menial work that drew groans from Daichi, sighs from Renji, and endless enthusiasm from Naruto. When tasked with carrying heavy crates across the village, Naruto shouldered 3 at once, running sprints instead of walking. When told to weed a field, he knelt with unshakable focus, turning it into a test of precision. When hauling water, he stacked buckets until he could barely see, grinning as he jogged in balanced strides. "Why?" Daichi demanded one afternoon, watching Naruto move with the energy of 3 genin combined. "Why take this stuff so seriously? Nobody cares if we half-ass it." Naruto's grin softened into something steadier. "Because it matters to the people who asked. And because it makes me stronger. If I don't give everything here, how can I give everything when it counts?" The words landed harder than Daichi expected. He scratched at his jaw, grumbling, but offered no retort. Rinji, though quiet, studied Naruto with a new kind of respect. The boy wasn't just talented, he treated everything as a chance to grow. Kakashi trailed at a distance, watching with his usual mask of indifference. To the casual eye, he looked bored, but behind his single eye, he catalogued every detail. Most children grew frustrated with D-ranks, sulking or slacking. Naruto thrived on them. Where his teammates dragged their feet, he carried them with sheer energy. He didn't whine, didn't falter, he smiled. This boy is different, Kakashi thought. Most prodigies burn hot and cold, but Naruto, he burns steady. Even here, in the smallest of tasks, he grows. Kakashi's lips curved faintly under the mask, and he makes the others grow, too. The D-rank missions ended early that afternoon, but Kakashi didn't dismiss them. Instead, he led the team out to Training Ground 3, the same open field with tall trees standing like silent guardians around its edges. He stood there, hands buried in his pockets, posture slouched, eye half-lidded, but Naruto had already learned not to be fooled. "D-ranks are good for patience," Kakashi said casually. "But patience alone won't keep you alive outside the village. Let's test the rest of you." Daichi cracked his knuckles and grinned. Finally, something worth the headband. Rinji tightened his pouch straps, his lips pressed thin. "Test? Meaning what exactly?" Naruto tugged on his forehead protector with a grin. "Meaning it's about to get awesome." Kakashi's visible eye curved faintly. Then he gestured toward the trees. "Ambush me." Daichi didn't hesitate, crashing through the brush with a shout, kunai raised high. Kakashi flicked to the side, letting him skid past. "Too loud," he murmured. Rinji tried next, moving carefully, so careful it was almost painful to watch. He blended into the shadows better than Daichi, but Kakashi still appeared behind him in a blur and tapped his neck with a wooden blade. Too slow. Naruto went last. He didn't crash forward like Daichi or creep like Rinji. He moved quick and low, weaving under branches, circling wide until Kakashi nearly missed him. A pebble flicked from Naruto's hand landed square at his feet. The Jonin's eye sharpened. He hadn't sensed the boy until that moment. Better. They moved on to sparring. Kakashi called them into a circle, one at a time against him until exhaustion dragged them out. Daichi went first, all force and fury. Kakashi caught his wrist, pivoted, and sent him sprawling in one smooth motion. Renji followed, his strikes careful, measured, but hesitant. 3 exchanges later, Kakashi tapped him out. Naruto stepped in last. He didn't just attack, he adapted. Each parry Kakashi gave, Naruto shifted rhythm, probing for openings. He was sharp, fast, his counters clean. Small though he was, he darted under strikes and came up grinning, sweat shining on his forehead. He lasted longer than both teammates combined, until Kakashi swept his legs and tapped his forehead protector. Dead, the Jonin said. Naruto laughed from the grass. Heh, getting closer though. Renji and Daichi stared. Closer? The boy had lasted nearly 5 minutes. Kakashi didn't comment, but he noted the fire in Naruto's grin. Afterward, Kakashi led them to the base of a towering cedar. He pressed his palm against the bark and walked up a few steps before dropping back down. Tree climbing. Focus chakra into your feet. Too little, you'll slip. Too much, you'll crack the bark. Renji's eyes widened. That's advanced. Daichi was already sprinting. He slammed into the trunk, managed 2 steps before tumbling backward. What they? Renji tried more cautiously. He got 3, maybe 4 steps before sliding back, landing hard but upright. Naruto grinned, stepped forward, and ran. He shot halfway up the trunk, turned, and flipped down lightly. That's it? This is fun. He jogged back up again, then again, until Daichi was growling and Renji's eyes were wide. Don't worry, Naruto called from halfway up. You'll get it. Just feel the chakra in your feet, like walking, but with the ground upside down. You've got to trust it. Renji gave it another try, focusing harder. He made it 5 steps before sliding, but there was a spark of understanding in his eyes. Daichi tried again, and again, each time slamming back down harder, until Naruto zipped down the tree and steadied him with a grin. Oi, you almost had it that time. Don't push so much chakra. Think of it like lightning, sharp and fast, not blasting everything at once. Daichi blinked. Lightning? Yeah, you don't hear it until it hits. That's how your chakra should feel. Daichi scowled, but the corner of his mouth twitched. Humph. Lightning. Fine. Renji, sweating, glanced at Naruto. And I should just trust it? Naruto nodded. Exactly. Stop doubting. Just climb. They kept at it. Renji's steps grew steadier, his confidence inching upward. Daichi still fell, but his frustration turned to determination. Naruto raced up and down the trunk like he'd been born to it, sometimes upside down, sometimes leaping from one tree to the next, laughing the whole way. Between attempts, Naruto started teaching signals. A hand tap for moving left, a whistle for regrouping, a shoulder tap for traps. Use this so we don't have to shout, he explained cheerfully. Renji raised a brow. You just made these up now? Yup, Naruto said, grinning. Makes it easier for us, right? Daichi huffed, but even he had to admit it worked. From a perch above, Kakashi watched in silence. Naruto wasn't just showing off. He was lifting the others, pulling them along. Renji's steps were steadier now, Daichi's strikes sharper. Both of them had started to listen. Most prodigies walk alone, Kakashi thought. This one makes others walk with him. By dusk, Renji had climbed halfway up, sweat dripping but pride shining in his eyes. Daichi managed 10 steps before crashing down, cursing but laughing. Naruto was still bounding up and down like it was nothing, calling encouragements at every slip. When they finally collapsed in the grass, Daichi groaned. I'm never walking again. Renji smiled faintly. That was progress. Naruto lay back, hands behind his head, staring at the sky. Told you we'd get stronger. Next time we'll all reach the top. Daichi snorted. You're insane. But this time his voice carried something different. Respect. By the time the 3 of them limped back toward the village, the The sky had darkened into streaks of violet and orange. Training had wrung them dry. Renji's legs trembled with every step, and Daichi kept muttering threats against the cedar tree that had bested him. Naruto, on the other hand, bounced along at their side, scratches on his arms and dirt on his clothes but grinning like he'd won a prize. "Come on," Naruto said suddenly, pointing toward the lanterns glowing over the market street. "We should eat. Ramen's on me. Well, actually on the Hokage's stipend, but you get what I mean." Daichi groaned. "Ramen? After a day like this, I need meat. Real food." Naruto gasped, clutching his chest as if stabbed. "Ramen is real food. Best food. The best food ever." Renji gave a small chuckle despite his exhaustion. "I don't think I've ever met someone who believes in anything as much as you believe in ramen." Naruto puffed up. "Believe it. You'll see. Ichiraku's is like training for your soul. You'll thank me." He dragged them down the street until they were seated at the narrow counter of Ichiraku's. The smell of broth and grilled pork filled the air. Naruto ordered with practiced speed, 3 miso, extra chashu, and leaned on the counter with a grin as Renji and Daichi exchanged uncertain glances. When the bowls arrived, steaming and rich, Daichi dug in first, slurping loudly. His eyes widened despite himself. Okay, this isn't bad." Naruto smirked triumphantly. "Told you." Renji ate more carefully, savoring each bite, but by the time his bowl was empty, the cautious boy's shoulders had loosened, the tension drained from his face. "It's comforting," he admitted softly. Naruto stretched his arms behind his head, utterly pleased. "See? Team Ramen. Way better than sulking in bed after training." Daichi rolled his eyes. "You're ridiculous." But there was no edge to it anymore. Afterward, they wandered through the lantern-lit streets, their pace unhurried for the first time all day. Naruto challenged Daichi to a sprint down one alley and back, and though Daichi scoffed, he still ran, and laughed breathlessly when Naruto beat him by half a step. Renji shook his head at them both, but Naruto looped an arm over his shoulders anyway, dragging him along until even he was smiling faintly. "You're not used to this, huh?" Naruto asked him. Renji blinked. "Used to what?" "Someone pushing you," Naruto said simply. "Someone saying you're good enough." Renji looked away, embarrassed. "I don't usually hear that, no?" "Well, you are," Naruto said firmly. "Plenty strong. You just need to stop second-guessing yourself." Renji swallowed, eyes dropping, but the faintest smile tugged at his lips. Daichi snorted from the other side. "Don't fill his head too much, or he'll start thinking he can beat me." Naruto's grin turned mischievous. "Maybe he will." Daichi shoved him lightly, and Naruto shoved back until they were both laughing. By the time they parted ways at the crossroads, the air between them had shifted. Renji no longer walked a step behind, and Daichi's jabs carried camaraderie rather than resentment. Naruto waved them off with a grin so wide it seemed to light the whole street. From a rooftop shadow, Kakashi watched them go, eye crinkling faintly. The day had wrung them all dry, yet Naruto still blazed with energy, pulling the others into his orbit without even trying. "He reminds me of Sensei," Kakashi thought. "The way Minato could make anyone believe in themselves. Naruto has it too, maybe even more." The Jonin turned away, his gaze drifting toward the dark horizon. The team was blossoming, but storms were always waiting beyond the walls. The night was quiet over the Hokage's office, the kind of silence that came only when most of the village was asleep. The lamps burned low, their glow painting the walls in warm orange. Scrolls and reports were scattered across the desk, but Hiruzen Sarutobi had long since learned to find order in the mess. He set his pipe aside and unrolled a scroll stamped with the Fire Daimyo's seal. The neat brushstrokes spoke of diplomacy, but the weight behind them was anything but polite. The Wind Daimyo had begun diverting his contracts. Patrols, escorts, bandit suppression. Where once Sunegakure's shinobi had been dispatched, now the requests were being routed to Konohagakure. On paper, it was a gesture of trust in the Leaf's reliability. In practice, it was strangulation. The Sands coffers depended on outside work. Their barren land yielded little food or trade, and the pay for missions kept their shinobi corps alive. Now, their revenue was bleeding away with every contract Konoha received. Hiruzen leaned back, exhaling slowly. The Kazekage won't let this continue for long. A proud village, stripped of its lifeline, would never accept humiliation quietly. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. Konoha was strong, wealthy, stable, but prosperity carried its own dangers. Sunagakure's bitterness would only grow, and when it boiled over, the first place it would spill was the riverlands. A knock at the door drew him from his thoughts. One of his aides entered, bowing before setting down a thin stack of reports. Hiruzen waved him off and skimmed the fresh scrolls. Bandit activity along the river border. Merchants requesting escorts. Isolated thefts on the trade routes. Small issues on their own, but strung together they painted an emerging picture. Tension bleeding into the borderlands. The land of rivers, he murmured, tapping ash into the tray. Always overlooked, always the fault line. He walked to the broad window overlooking Konoha. Lanterns flickered below. Ramen stands still open for late-night customers. Children's laughter carrying faintly across the rooftops. Peaceful for now, but the world beyond was stirring. His mind inevitably turned to Naruto. Kakashi's reports had grown more insistent with each passing week. The boy was blooming. Prodigious skill, monstrous stamina, but more than that, leadership. He turned two average genin into something resembling a squad. He lifted them, encouraged them, found strength in their flaws. Kakashi's phrasing stuck with him. Most prodigies are solitary blades. Naruto is a fire, he makes others burn brighter. A rare gift, dangerous too. Naruto's chakra was already greater than most Jonin. His control was sharp, his memory precise, his optimism still unbroken by the chill of the village. And that optimism, bright, defiant, was what drew others to him. Danzo's eyes would wander there sooner or later. The elders too. And outside the walls, enemies would see more than a boy. They would see a weapon. You would be proud, Minato, Hiruzen thought. Your son carries your brilliance and Kushina's fire. And he has something more, something that is entirely his own. He sighed and returned to the desk. One report in particular caught his eye. A merchant requesting an escort through the riverlands, close to the border with wind. On its surface, routine. But to Hiruzen's practiced eye, it was opportunity. A low-level mission for a young squad. A chance for Naruto to stretch his wings outside the walls. And a way to remind Konoha's allies that the leaf still kept its roads safe. He drafted the assignment carefully, his brush scratching across the parchment. Officially, it was C rank, no more than an escort for a caravan. Unofficially, it was another small stone dropped into an already rippling pond. When he finished, he sealed the scroll and leaned back, pipe smoke curling toward the beams overhead. Grow well, Naruto, he murmured to the empty room. Grow strong, before the world remembers you exist. Outside, the moon cast the village in silver calm. But Hiruzen's gaze drifted westward, to where the riverlands touched the wind. He could almost feel the pressure building, a storm waiting to break. And in the middle of it, he pictured a boy's grin, bright, reckless, and burning. A torch, brilliant, unmissable. The morning sunlight streamed through the Hokage's office, warm against the scrolls and ink spread across the great desk. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked up as Team Kakashi filed in, 3 young genin standing before their Jonin commander. Daichi crossed his arms, impatience plain in his stance. Renji was more restrained, though the tightness in his shoulders betrayed him. Naruto, by contrast, beamed as if just being summoned here was the start of an adventure. Hiruzen steepled his fingers beneath his chin. Team Kakashi, how have you found your missions thus far? Boring, Daichi said instantly, ignoring the sharp elbow Renji sent his way. We've caught cats, pulled weeds, carried crates. None of it's real shinobi work. Renji cleared his throat, trying to soften it. We've learned patience and coordination, Lord Hokage. But I think we're ready for more. Naruto pumped a fist in the air. Yeah, give us something real. We'll nail it. Believe it. Kakashi's visible eye flicked toward his students. He said nothing, but Hiruzen caught the faint twitch at the corner of his mask. Amusement, perhaps, or something deeper. The Hokage leaned back in his chair. Eagerness can be dangerous, but so can complacency. It's the duty of a shinobi to be prepared for either. He unrolled a fresh scroll and set it on the desk. The red wax seal of the mission office gleamed faintly. Very well. Your next task will be a C-rank mission. Daichi's grin split his face before he could stop it. Renji stiffened, wide-eyed. Naruto practically vibrated with energy. A merchant caravan will be departing Fire Country and traveling west, Hiruzen continued. Your assignment is to escort them through the land of rivers. Bandits have been sighted along the route, and while it is not expected to escalate beyond minor resistance, vigilance is required. Renji swallowed hard. The Riverlands? That's close to the wind border. Correct, Hiruzen said. You will not cross into wind territory, but proximity demands caution. The Riverlands are often overlooked, yet they sit between two great powers. Tread carefully. Daichi slapped his hands together. Finally, bandits, huh? Let me at M. Naruto turned, grinning at his teammates. We'll keep the caravan safe and show everyone what we can do. Right, Renji? Renji hesitated, glancing between Naruto's determined grin and Daichi's reckless excitement. At last he nodded. We'll do our best. Kakashi spoke for the first time, his voice mild but carrying weight. Lord Hokage, is there anything we should know beyond the standard risks? Hiruzen's gaze lingered on him for a heartbeat too long. Only that the Riverlands are a place where tensions can spill across borders without warning. Keep your eyes open. Kakashi's eye narrowed slightly, but he inclined his head. Understood. The Hokage handed over the sealed mission scroll. Naruto stared at it as though it were a treasure map. Daichi looked like he was ready to burst out the door immediately. Renji clutched his pouch strap a little tighter, nerves playing on his face. Remember, Hiruzen said, his voice carrying a note of quiet steel. A shinobi's duty is not glory, it is completion. Protect the client. Return alive. Nothing more, nothing less. Naruto's grin softened, but it didn't fade. We'll bring them back safe, Lord Hokage. Promise. For a moment, Hiruzen studied the boy's bright face, the grin that seemed to shine even through the seriousness of the chamber. Minato's calm resolve was there, Kushina's fierce fire too. But something else, something that belonged only to Naruto. Go then, Hiruzen said at last, and make Konoha proud. The team bowed. Kakashi tucked the scroll into his vest, ushering them toward the door. Naruto was the last to leave, waving brightly over his shoulder before disappearing down the hall with his teammates. When the office fell silent again, Hiruzen leaned back in his chair. His eyes drifted westward, toward a border the children did not yet understand. The Riverlands, he murmured, always the first place to tremble when the great nations shift their weight. He lit his pipe and exhaled slowly. A torch had been lit in Naruto Uzumaki, brighter than most dared imagine. The question was whether the world beyond Konoha's walls was ready for it. The next morning dawned crisp and bright, the village already stirring with market chatter and the sound of sandals on stone. Team Kakashi gathered at the south gate, packs slung over their shoulders, weapons checked and rechecked. Daichi bounced on his heels, cracking his knuckles like he was heading to a tournament. Finally, a mission worth taking. Bandits won't know what hit him. Renji tugged at his straps for the 5th time, his face drawn tight. It's still dangerous. Bandits don't fight by rules. Naruto stood between them, grinning like the whole world was opening before him. Dangerous? That's what makes it fun. We'll handle it, believe it. Renji shot him a look. You really think everything is fun? Not everything, Naruto said, tilting his head. But protecting people? Getting stronger with you guys? That's fun. And we'll do both. Daichi smirked despite himself. TCH, you're crazy, but fine. Let's make it fun. Kakashi strolled up last, a slim pack on his back. His eye curved in that faint arc that gave nothing away. Good. You're all here. Try not to die. Daichi groaned. Renji stiffened. Naruto only laughed. They stepped out through the great wooden gates, leaving the village behind. The road stretched ahead, winding westward toward the riverlands, the air filled with the scent of grass and distant water. For Naruto, every step felt like freedom. He'd trained, he'd worked, but this was the real start. His first mission beyond Konoha's walls. The world beyond the horizon was waiting, and he was ready to meet it head-on. Renji walked a pace behind, eyes flicking to the tree-line with nervous vigilance. Daichi strode forward, muttering about how many bandits he could take down before lunch. Naruto kept close between them, humming under his breath, his energy unflagging. From behind his mask, Kakashi studied them. The boys were raw, untested, still thinking of danger as something abstract. Naruto carried himself like he'd already seen it, even if he hadn't. There was no fear in him, only determination and that wild, infectious grin. The Jonin's gaze drifted toward the distant horizon. The land of rivers was no mere neutral ground. It was the border between giants, a place where tensions bled through without warning. Bandits might be the surface threat, but beneath, Kakashi could already feel the weight of something larger stirring. The Hokage's timing isn't coincidence, he thought. He wants them blooded, wants Naruto blooded. His eye slid toward the boy again, 7 years old, and already carrying himself like a shinobi twice that age. Already inventing jutsu, leading teammates, forcing even his Jonin sensei to take him seriously. Torch, Kakashi thought. Brilliant, dangerous. How long before every shadow out there notices? Ahead, Naruto whooped suddenly, running a few steps forward and turning back with a grin. Hurry up, slowpokes. The riverlands aren't gonna wait for us. Daichi shouted back, sprinting to chase him. Renji sighed, shaking his head, but a faint smile touched his lips as he followed. Kakashi lingered a moment longer, watching the three of them dart down the road like sparks in the wind. His hands slid into his pockets, and he exhaled softly. Too young for this, he murmured, and yet maybe ready all the same. The road stretched westward, toward rivers that would carry them to borders where nations trembled. The torches of 3 genin burned bright against the horizon, and Kakashi followed, silent and watchful, as the world began to shift around them. Chapter 4. A Caravan to the River. The caravan waited at the south gate like a small, lumbering beast. Wagons heavy with bolts of cloth and baskets of salted fish, oxen stamping, merchants fussing with ropes and sealing jars. Guards in plain leathers checked straps and counted heads. The air smelled of dust and river water, and under it all there was the soft metallic tang of coin and risk. Naruto's grin nearly split his face. For him, the road had always been a promise. Adventure tucked between towns, lessons hidden in passing faces. He hopped from crate to crate, testing the weight of a pack, thumping an ox with absurd familiarity as if it were an old friend. This is it, he crowed. Our first real mission. Think of all the stuff we'll see. Daichi punched the air. Finally, bandits, real fights, not another day of sweeping mud. I'll make a pile of them and buy myself a feast. His voice was equal parts bravado and hunger. The boy wanted reputation like a prize. Renji adjusted the strap on his bag with slow hands, eyes on the horizon. He had a leaf-worn map tucked inside a notebook, routes carefully annotated. Remember the route, he reminded in that low, careful tone he used for everything important. Keep formation and don't get reckless. Kakashi leaned against a post, mask hiding the set of his mouth, one visible eye hooded in his usual unbothered way. He watched the caravan with the same patient attention he gave a page of scrolls. Quick glances, catalog details. To the others, he looked casual. To those who knew him, the calm meant readiness. He flicked his gaze at Naruto, then at Renji and Daichi, and the faintest crease marked his brow. Not a worry, simply the weight of a Jonin responsible for 3 lives. Merchants bustled, thanking the leaf guards with curt nods. Many of them were veterans of routes that ran close to the wind border, and their faces carried the map of miles and mistrust. A thin man in a patched coat muttered to his partner as they loaded a crate. Heard there's been mercenary shinobi along the western road. Smart folk don't travel without an escort these days. His companion spat and shrugged. Someone's getting rich off fear. Good for business for those who sell protection. A woman with a basket glanced at Naruto and then, involuntarily, at the three young shinobi under Kakashi's eye. Her voice dropped, not out of malice but awe. Konoha's kids are on the road? Lucky caravan. Those leaf children fight like veterans. Heard stories. Even the youngest are sharper than some Jonin I knew. Her whisper was swallowed by the bustle, but it threaded through the camp like warm light. The remark would have pleased Hiruzen if he'd heard it. The redistribution of contracts to Konoha had been a quiet thing at first. A token trust, then more routes, more caravans. To the leaf it looked like steady influence. To Sunagakure it was a slowly closing fist on coin and pride. No one at the gate spoke of that yet. For now, the caravan's nervousness was the only thing that showed. Naruto caught the whisper and puffed up with pride in a single breath. Did you hear that? They think we're real shinobi already. Believe it. He beamed. Rinji's eyes flicked toward him. Not scornful, just surprised. Daichi's grin widened into something like hunger. Kakashi's eye tracked the line of road ahead, where a ribbon of trees stitched shadows across the path. Stay sharp, he said at last, voice low enough only the three heard. Shinobi or not, the riverlands have been tense. Keep formation. Watch for movement in the treeline and the ground. Don't scatter. Naruto's grin folded into a line of concentration for a moment. The thrill of the road balanced by the weight of orders. He nodded. Got it. We'll be the best escorts ever, he said, and meant it. The oxen strained. The caravan lumbered forward, leaving Konoha's wooden gate and the safe pattern of its roofs behind. The road bent and narrowed, and the landscape opened to fields and marshes where rushes trembled like seas in a breeze. Far off, the riverlands breathed. A fertile patch held between two greater powers, trade routes braided like veins. It could feed life or bleed nations, depending on what men did with the roads. Kakashi walked at the caravan's flank, quiet and watchful. Behind him, three young genin moved with the uneven confidence of those who had just learned to carry responsibility and had decided they liked the weight. Naruto's laugh carried ahead on the wind like a bright flare. Kakashi thought of it for a moment and allowed himself the smallest of smiles. For the moment, the road was theirs. The world beyond the trees would decide whether that statement held true. The first trouble came 2 days into the journey, where the road bent along a low ridge and the trees pressed close on either side. The caravan slowed, the oxen grumbling as if they, too, sensed something waiting in the shadows. Kakashi lifted his head a fraction, eye narrowing. The air was still, but the birds had gone silent. That was enough. On guard, he said softly. Naruto perked up immediately, bouncing onto the side of a wagon to scan the treeline. Daichi grinned, fingers already itching at the kunai on his belt. Rinji's shoulders stiffened, his eyes darting nervously. The first arrow came hissing from the brush. It clattered against a wagon board, and then the woods erupted with shouting. Men poured out, rough faces under ragged helmets, spears and clubs raised. Bandits, 30 at least, and organized enough to rush the caravan in a wave instead of stumbling one by one. Merchants shrieked, scrambling to shield themselves behind wagons. The hired caravan guards planted their spears, knuckles white. Kakashi didn't move. He didn't need to. This one's yours, he said mildly, tilting his head toward his students. Daichi let out a whoop. Finally, he charged straight into the nearest knot of bandits, fist smashing into a shield so hard it splintered. The man behind it crumpled, gasping. Daichi laughed, wild and sharp, swinging again. Rinji moved slower, hanging back at first until Naruto shouted, "Left flank! Support Daichi!" The words snapped him out of hesitation. He slipped in behind, kunai flashing, striking where Daichi's raw strength left openings. Naruto stayed higher, leaping along the wagon tops, watching the flow. He spotted 3 bandits circling toward the oxen. A weak point. He clapped his hands, forming 3 quick seals. Wind style, bullet barrage. The air snapped like a whip. From Naruto's mouth spat a volley of compressed air bullets, each one cracking with the sharp speed of stone from a sling. They hammered into the dirt and the wooden barricade the bandits had shoved forward. The crude cover shattered into splinters, men stumbling back in shock as shards cut their arms and faces. Merchants gasped. Even the caravan guards froze for a heartbeat, eyes wide at the sight of a boy unleashing jutsu with killing intent. Naruto dropped lightly to the ground, grinning. "Keep them back. Rinji, take the one on the left. He's reeling." Rinji obeyed, darting in to slice a bandit across the arm. Daichi roared and body-checked another straight into the dirt. The tide faltered. Bandits expecting easy prey found themselves driven back by 3 children who moved with sharp precision. For every wild swing Daichi made, Naruto redirected him with a shout. For every hesitation Renji showed, Naruto cut it off with quick encouragement. A spear jabbed toward Naruto's chest, too fast for Renji to intercept. Naruto twisted, caught the haft with one hand, and fired a single wind bullet from the other. The air round cracked through the wood, shattering it clean in two. The bandit dropped what was left, eyes wide, and bolted. The others broke soon after, retreating in a scramble of curses and fear. Shouts faded into the trees until only groaning men and shattered weapons littered the road. The caravan guards stared. The merchants stared harder. "Konoha's brats," one of them whispered, mixing with disbelief. "They fight like veterans." Naruto beamed, hands on his hips. "Told you, piece of cake." Daichi wiped his knuckles, grinning ear to ear. "Ha! I could have taken twice that many." Rinji shook his head, chest heaving. "We could have been overwhelmed. They had numbers. We actually won." His voice was stunned, more to himself than anyone else. Kakashi strolled forward, as unhurried as if the skirmish had been a sparring match in the village. He nudged one of the fallen shields with his toe, eye narrowing at the iron reinforcements. "Well done," he said. The praise was quiet, but enough to make Naruto puff up, Daichi stand taller, and even Rinji smile faintly. Then Kakashi's tone shifted, the lazy warmth gone. "But this wasn't random." Naruto blinked. "What do you mean?" Kakashi crouched, examining the markings on a bandit's bracer. "Not clan, not village, but uniform. Bandits don't gather this many without a leash, and they don't carry steel like this unless someone's supplying them." He rose, his gaze scanning the tree-line with sharp weight. "Which means someone wanted us delayed, or tested." The silence after his words was heavier than the fight itself. Merchants exchanged nervous looks. Naruto's grin dimmed, but his eyes sharpened. "Then we'll be ready next time." Kakashi studied him for a moment, then let his eye curve faintly. "That's the right answer." The caravan began moving again, slower, more cautious. Behind them, the ridge stood littered with broken shields and scattered blood, mute testimony to Konoha's youngest proving their worth. And somewhere beyond the trees, unseen eyes watched the retreat with quiet interest. High above the ridge, where the tree-line thickened and the slope dropped into shadows, a figure crouched in silence. A hood shadowed his features, but the glint of thin threads stretching from his fingers betrayed what he was. Raisman, once of Sunagakure, watched the retreating caravan with eyes that neither hurried nor flinched. His fingers twitched once, and from the brush at his side a puppet shuddered upright. A lean wooden frame lacquered dark, its jaw snapping in a staccato rhythm. Tiny blades glimmered where fingernails should have been. He let it move a step forward, then stilled it. "Not yet, not for rabble like bandits." "So it's true," he murmured, voice low and dry. "Even their children fight like wolves." Behind him, a heavy-set man shifted, cracking his knuckles impatiently. This was Karu, broad as an ox, his skin crisscrossed with scars. "You had us waiting for that?" His voice rumbled with boredom. 30 bandits and 3 brats broke them. "Let me down there. I'd split them in half before they blinked." "You'd alert the copy ninja before we were ready," Raisman said evenly, not turning. "Impatience is the death of puppets and men alike." Karu snorted but subsided, resting his massive fists against a tree trunk. A woman lounged on a branch above, her legs swinging lazily. She had sharp eyes and sharper teeth when she smiled, and her voice curled with mockery. Children with teeth. That blonde one's dangerous. I could feel his chakra even from here. Too bright for a boy his age. Her name was Yura, and she spun illusions like silk. Slow, clinging, suffocating. Raisman's lips curved slightly. Not a smile but something colder. Yes, the boy is sharp. The others are raw, but he pulls them like strings. His eyes flicked to the distant silver-haired figure walking among the wagons. And then there's Hataki. They sent the copy ninja to guard merchants. Interesting. Yura gave a soft laugh. That's more than merchants, then. That's a message. Konoha wants the Riverlands to know they're watching. Raisman finally straightened, brushing dust from his cloak. The puppet at his side folded neatly, joints locking with a dry click. Exactly. And we are the reply. Bandits cannot break the Leaf's image. We can. Karu grinned, baring his teeth. Good. About time I crushed something worth hitting. Yura's voice was almost sing-song. And if Hataki kills us? You've seen his record. He's no ordinary Jonin. Raisman's eyes narrowed, but his tone remained calm. I don't need to kill him. I need to make the Riverlands bleed. To show the world that Konoha's reach isn't unchallenged. If that means stalling Hataki while you break his children and burn his caravan. So be it. His fingers flexed, chakra threads glimmering faintly in the dim light. Two more shapes stirred in the brush behind him. His favored puppets, each wrapped in cloth to hide their edges. One had a shield of lacquered wood, the other long, gleaming needles folded in its wrists. The world must see, Raisman murmured, almost to himself. The Leaf's pride is not invulnerable. Even wolves can be trapped. Karu cracked his neck. Yura's grin widened. Shall we? She asked. Raisman let his gaze linger once more on the distant flash of blonde hair darting beside the wagons. The boy's laugh, faint even from this distance, carried like a spark across the field. In time, he said. Patience. Strings must be pulled at the right moment. The puppet's jaws clicked softly, an echo of his words, as the caravan disappeared down the road. The caravan rolled on, the dust of the bandit skirmish still clinging to wheels and boots. The merchant's tension hadn't vanished, but it had softened. They looked at the three genin differently now, less like children tagging along under a Jonin's shadow, more like small, sharp blades carried in plain sight. Naruto basked in it. He walked beside one wagon, chatting with a broad-faced merchant about oxen as if the man hadn't nearly been skewered hours before. He bounced between wagons, poking at bundles, making jokes until even the most sour-faced guard chuckled despite himself. When one old woman fretted about broken crates, Naruto hoisted the splintered wood with ease and set it aside. Don't worry, Granny. Nothing's getting past us. The woman laughed, a nervous sound that slowly turned genuine. Spirited one, aren't you? Like a spark in kindling. Daichi strutted nearby, basking in the echoes of praise. You should have seen me. 10 of those bandits fell before I even broke a sweat. He flexed his arm, smirking at anyone who would glance his way. Next time they'll run before I even swing. Rinji frowned at him, scribbling notes into a little book as he walked. There weren't 10. 4, maybe 5, and you left your side open twice. TCH, they still fell, Daichi shot back. They fell because Naruto told me where to cover you, Renji said evenly, not lifting his eyes from his notes. Daichi scowled, ready to retort, but Naruto skipped in between them, grinning. Hey, doesn't matter who did what. We worked together and we won. That's the point. Teamwork. Remember? Rinji shut his notebook, but a small smile tugged at his lips. Daichi grumbled, though the sharp edge of his pride softened. The merchants watched all of it, whispering to each other when they thought the shinobi weren't listening. Leaf trains them young, one said. Not just to fight, but to move together. Another nodded, eyes wide. Even their children, stronger than full-grown men elsewhere. Naruto caught the whispers and puffed his chest out like a rooster. He liked it, sure, but more than that, he liked the way the others looked lighter, less afraid. That mattered more. At the edge of the convoy, Kakashi walked in silence. His posture hadn't changed, shoulders slouched, book still tucked into his vest, but his gaze never left the treeline. He noticed every shadow, every flicker of branch, every rustle too heavy for wind. The faintest brush of foreign chakra tickled at the edge of his senses, thin and careful. It disappeared before he could trace it. Threads, Kakashi thought, his single eye narrowing. Puppeteer. He said nothing to the team yet, no sense rattling them until the strings pulled tight. But he filed the sensation away, storing it beside the quiet he'd noticed earlier, the kind of quiet where birds fled and the air held its breath. Naruto dropped back beside him after a while, head tilted. "You've been watching the trees a lot, Kakashi-sensei." Kakashi gave him a sidelong glance. "That's where danger lives." Naruto nodded, serious for once. "Want me to keep watch too?" The Jonin studied him for a moment. The boy's grin was gone, replaced by the sharp brightness he'd shown in the fight. It was a look that belonged on a seasoned shinobi, not a child. But here it was steady and sure. "Do that," Kakashi said at last. Naruto grinned again, but this time it was quieter, tempered. He dropped back to his teammates, scanning the treeline with fresh eyes. The road stretched westward, the riverlands unfolding in fertile fields and low marshes. Farmers bent over rice paddies, their lives carried on as if nothing lurked beyond the horizon. But for Kakashi, the weight of the unseen pressed harder with every step. Something was watching, something patient. And when it came, he knew it wouldn't be bandits. The caravan reached the low pass by late afternoon, the sun hanging heavy and red behind them. Trees pressed in close on both sides, and the road narrowed to a ribbon barely wide enough for 2 wagons abreast. The air grew cooler here, shadows stretching long. Kakashi's stride slowed, his visible eye sharpened. The faint brush of chakra threads had been growing thicker, closer, impossible to ignore now. "Stay sharp," he murmured. Naruto caught the shift immediately, hand tightening at his side. Daichi glanced over with a frown. Renji stiffened. The merchants, sensing tension, grew quiet, their voices swallowed by the hush of the woods. The first strike came as a tremor. A pulse ran underfoot, and the lead ox bawled as the road caved in. Dirt collapsed with a roar, the front wagon dropping nose first into a shallow pit. The caravan screeched to a halt. Then the trees stirred, not with men, not with bandits, but with the sound of clicking wood. Figures stepped from the shadows, not flesh, not breathing. Puppets. 3 of them, lacquered dark, their faces carved into hollow sneers. Blades gleamed where fingers should be. One raised its arm and a volley of poisoned senbon spat out, thudding into a wagon side. The merchants screamed. And then, at the rear, a cloaked figure stepped into view. His hands flicked lazily, threads glimmering in the fading light. The puppets jerked forward in perfect unison. "Puppeteer," Kakashi said flatly. Raisman's voice carried over the chaos, calm and dry. "So the leaf sends the copy ninja to guard merchants. Interesting, but this road doesn't belong to you." Kakashi moved instantly, kunai flashing to slice through a thread aimed at a merchant's throat. His Sharingan whirled, tracking the lines too fine for normal eyes. He lunged forward, intercepting the first puppet with a sharp kick, sending it skidding back in a shower of dirt. "Protect the caravan," Kakashi ordered, voice low but sharp. "I'll handle the puppeteer." Naruto nodded before the words were finished. "You heard him. Daichi, Renji, form up." From the left flank, the taijutsu brute barreled in, massive arms swinging. His first blow crumpled a wagon's side like paper. Oxen bawled, trying to bolt. Renji froze for half a heartbeat before Naruto barked, "Renji, right side. Cut him off." The boy snapped forward, kunai flashing. Daichi roared, charging the brute head-on. Their fists collided with a sound like stone cracking. Daichi staggered, teeth gritted, but held the line. Above them, Yura, the kunoichi, landed lightly on a wagon. Her eyes glowed faintly as she traced signs in the air. "Sleep," she purred. Illusion spilled out like smoke. Renji's eyes glazed, but Naruto shoved him hard, breaking his line of sight. Stay with me, Rinji, he snapped. Rinji blinked, shook his head, and forced himself back to focus. All around, puppets clattered and merchants cowered. Kakashi clashed with one, his kunai slicing threads as fast as they appeared. He lunged toward Raisman, but the man kept his distance, drawing him away with each flick of his fingers. You're fast, Hataki, Raisman said, his voice never rising. But you're bound by duty. Protect them all. Let's see how long you can dance. Kakashi's eye narrowed. He could win, he would win, but the puppeteer's tactic was clear. Drown him in distractions, force him to split his blade between the puppets and the team he guarded. Every step closer to Raisman cost him ground somewhere else. Naruto planted himself in front of a wagon, 3 seals flashing through his fingers. Wind style, bullet barrage. Compressed air bullets ripped through the air, hammering into the brute's chest and forcing him back a step. The man snarled, blood speckling his lips, but charged again. Daichi intercepted with a heavy punch, Naruto firing over his shoulder to push the man off balance. Rinji darted in low, slashing at exposed legs. It was chaotic, messy, but it was teamwork. Yura hissed, her illusions flickering uselessly against Naruto's raw, focused chakra. That boy, she muttered. He burns too bright. Naruto grinned fiercely, sweat dripping, eyes alight. We're not bandits. You're not getting past us. The brute swung again, and Naruto sidestepped, firing 3 wind bullets in a tight cluster. They struck his shoulder, punching clean through flesh. The man staggered, roaring. Daichi slammed a fist into his gut, and Rinji's kunai found his throat. The brute fell heavy as stone. For a heartbeat, silence. Even the merchants stared. A child's jutsu had just gutted a shinobi who could have torn through the caravan alone. Naruto exhaled hard, chest heaving, then straightened, grin still there. 1 down. From his vantage, Raisman's expression darkened. He tugged his strings, and the remaining puppets surged forward, faster, sharper, their jaws clicking in unison. You'll regret that, boy, he called, voice still calm but edged now. Kakashi cut one puppet down with a swift strike, with splintering poison hissing. His Sharingan whirled as he pressed forward, but Raisman shifted back, still playing distance, still forcing Kakashi to split his focus. He's not my equal, Kakashi thought, parrying a blade arm, but with those children in the mix, he's dangerous enough. Naruto, for his part, didn't flinch. He stood firm, Rinji at his side, Daichi panting but grinning, the 3 of them shoulder to shoulder in front of terrified merchants. The storm had broken, and they were in the heart of it. Naruto tasted the dust and iron in the air and grinned like a dog given a run. The brute was down, heavy on the dirt, and for a sliver of time the road seemed to catch its breath. But the puppets did not pause. Their lacquered limbs turned with that soundless precision only wood and wire could produce, and their blades flicked out again toward the wagons and the still shaking merchants. Kakashi was locked in a blade dance with Raisman, kunai flashing as he sliced through threads and severed puppet limbs. But the puppeteer kept his distance, hands moving like a conductor and letting others do the dirty work. That tactic bought him time, and time was what Raisman was after. Naruto stepped in where Kakashi could not. He barked orders clear and precise, each one a small command that tightened the team's movement into a net. Daichi, push the left flank now. Use your weight to pin the puppet's torso. Rinji, circle and try to chop the thread near its shoulder. His voice cut above the metallic clicks. It carried the kind of authority that didn't expect echo. Both boys moved as if a string pulled them. Daichi collided with a puppet like a battering ram, body slamming against lacquer with a howl. The puppet staggered but kept striking. Its hands were blades. Its foot swung to take down a wagon. Naruto darted forward, seal snapping, ram, tiger, dog. 3 quick motions practiced until they were muscle and breath. Futon. Tsubaim Ryuden. The air screamed. Invisible slugs of compressed wind hammered into the puppet's chest. The wooden torso splintered inward, gears and small mechanisms disgorging with a shriek of metal. The puppet folded like a marionette with its strings cut. Merchants cried out in a half-sob, half-cheer. Bless the leaf children, someone breathed. The caravan guards looked as if they had seen ghosts. Naruto didn't pause to soak the praise. He sprinted between carts, using thrown kunai and pressure to shepherd terrified people behind an improvised line. Renji, eyes burning with a new kind of resolve, had found the thread Naruto indicated and cut it. The puppet's hands clattered uselessly to the dirt. Daichi, chest heaving, roared as he shoved another attacker aside. But the Genjutsu Kunoichi was patient. Yura had stayed off the field, perched like a viper, and now her illusions pooled like oil in the air. Renji blinked, pupils dilating as the world smeared. He froze, lips whispering in a language of sleep. His body crumpled where he stood. Naruto saw the change like lightning. He had felt the shift in Renji's eyes, the slackening of his breath. Without thinking, he lunged, grabbing Renji and slamming his shoulder into the boy hard. The physical shock was enough to break the first layer of smoke. But Yura's art was sticky, not broken by a shove alone. Naruto swung, lashes of wind snatching at the edges of the illusion, cutting at the way it clung to Renji's mind. "Wake up, Renji. Focus on my voice. Count with me." Naruto shouted, voice steady, and began a cadence, 1, 2, 3. He repeated it until Renji's eyelids fluttered and his breath returned. The genjutsu cracked like ice underfoot. Yura hissed, eyes narrowing. "You break so easily, boy." She danced down from the wagon, eyes glittering. "Little leaf can blunt the edge of my technique. How quaint." Naruto wiped grime from his lip and stared straight at her. "You shouldn't underestimate people who keep getting up," he said simply. Raisman's attention snapped back like a whip at that exchange. He saw the puppets fall and one subordinate dead. His plan was fraying. He tugged threads harder, and the remaining automatons lunged with renewed brutality. Kakashi seized the moment and surged, blade a blur as he cut through another puppet and closed the distance to the puppeteer. For an instant, the two men were only motion, one the precision blade, the other the puppeteer's patient choreography. They tested each other's limits, and Kakashi's eye flared with the quiet, unyielding knowledge of a seasoned warrior. But Kakashi's balancing act was still the reality. He could duel Raisman and cut down puppets, but he could not be in 12 places at once. That hollowed the fight into something gnawing and dangerous. Naruto understood something else then, a truth that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with duty. This was what being a shinobi meant. It was not show, not glory. It was the hard measurement of whether you could stand where people needed you to stand. He planted his feet and moved with calm speed, calling the team into tighter formations, redirecting falling wood, pointing merchants to gaps in the defense. Where Renji's precision was needed, he sent him. Where Daichi's brute force should drive back a puppet, he shoved him forward. Every command was tiny, exact, and the three of them responded like cogs in a well-oiled machine. A remaining puppet lunged for Kakashi, aiming to peel him off the leader. Naruto reacted first. He fired a single, thin-wind bullet that rattled the puppet's jaw mechanism, making it miss by a hair. Kakashi's blade finished the job. The tide, slow and bloody, began to lean. The caravan, though scared and shaken, was intact. The merchants clutched their goods with white-knuckled hands, staring at the three genin with something that smelled like reverence. Raisman's eyes were flat as river stones. He had misjudged the magnitude of the leaf's smallest spark. He looked at Kakashi, saw the unreadable calm, and then at Naruto, and something like calculation moved behind his gaze. "Interesting," he muttered, not without respect. "So the leaf breeds teeth in its pups." Kakashi didn't answer. He moved, blade carving decisive arcs, and the remaining puppets fell like woodcut soldiers. The road was bloodied and torn, but their duty held. Naruto panted, chest heaving, grin back at the edges of his mouth. For the merchants, for his teammates, for Kakashi, Naruto had been more than a prodigy. He had been the heart of a defense. Beyond the trees, unseen at first, the sun dipped low. The battle had been won for now. But the road ahead was not only long. It was watched. The road was chaos made still. The brute's body lay cooling in the dust. Splinters from shattered puppets littered the ground. The merchants clung to their wagons, eyes wide, mouths shut tight as if even breath might invite death back into the clearing. Naruto stood at the center of it, chest rising and falling, sweat plastering his hair to his forehead. Rinji hovered near him, blade trembling but held tight. Daichi leaned on his knees, grinning even through his ragged breaths. Kakashi had Raisman measured at last. One puppet was destroyed, threads severed, the Genjutsu Kunoichi forced back. The fight should have been over. But the puppeteer's expression never broke. His cloak rippled as he stepped back into the treeline, hands flicking in motions so fine they barely disturbed the air. Thin glimmers of chakra threads sang in the twilight. Something heavy stirred behind him. The forest shook as a larger shape stepped into view. Taller than a man, broad as two, lacquered black from crown to heel. Its mask-like face bore no features save a row of needle slits where the mouth should be. Every movement groaned with hidden mechanics, the faint hiss of poison vials and blade sheaths whispering beneath the surface. The merchants gasped. Rinji's lips parted in disbelief. Daichi muttered a curse under his breath. Kakashi's eye narrowed. That's not a standard puppet. That's a killing machine. High-level work years in the making. Raisman's voice drifted across the field, cold and measured. The brute was for breaking walls. The woman was for bending minds. But this one... He lifted his hands, threads sparking faintly as they locked into the great puppet's frame. This one was made for nothing but killing shinobi. The puppet's arms extended. Blades whispered free, curving like scythes. A compartment slid open across its chest, revealing a line of tiny holes, ready for senbon or worse. "Show me, Leaf," Raisman called, voice sharpening at last, something fierce beneath the calm. "Show me if even your children can stand against this." Kakashi swore under his breath. He was already moving, kunai in hand, ready to intercept before the monster could cut loose. But Naruto stepped forward first. He wiped his arm across his forehead, straightened his back, and grinned. Not the wild, careless grin of before, but something fiercer, steadier. His fingers flashed through seals, faster than Renji or Daichi could follow. "You want to test us?" Naruto shouted, his voice cutting across the clearing. "Fine. Then you'll see what the Leaf's youngest can do." The puppet's jaw clicked open with a dry snap. Poison mist began to coil in its throat. Kakashi's eye widened. He pushed forward, Sharingan spinning. But Naruto's seals were already finished, chakra flooding the air in sharp, focused waves. Wind gathered around him, whipping dust into spirals. The merchants cowered. Renji and Daichi stared. Raisman narrowed his eyes, tugging his threads taut. And Naruto, grin unbroken, drew in a sharp breath as his chest swelled with chakra. The clearing trembled, and the clash to come hung like lightning about to strike. Chapter 5, Strings of War. The puppet moved like a nightmare made solid. Taller than a man, broad as two, its lacquered body gleamed black in the failing light, each joint a whisper of poisoned gears. Its mask face split open in a line of slits, a hiss escaping like steam. Kakashi's Sharingan spun, reading every flick of the chakra threads that bound the machine. He recognized the craftsmanship in an instant. Precise, intricate, designed to overwhelm. A puppet like this wasn't meant for bandits or border patrols. It was a killing machine built to break shinobi. "Stay with the caravan," Kakashi ordered, voice calm but sharp. "I'll take the puppet. You three handle the rest." Naruto swallowed, but his grin was steady. "Got it, sensei. We'll cover them." Daichi cracked his knuckles, eyes glinting with anticipation. Rinji shifted closer to the wagons, blade in hand, gaze flicking everywhere at once. The puppet lunged. Its arms swept wide, blades flashing in the dusk. Kakashi blurred forward, kunai drawn, intercepting with a clang that rang through the clearing. Sparks hissed as metal ground against metal. The puppet pressed, gears whining, but Kakashi slipped inside its reach, cutting threads so fine most shinobi wouldn't even see them. Raisman stood at the treeline, fingers moving with a conductor's grace. His face was calm, but his eyes gleamed. Impressive, Hataki. But this puppet wasn't built for amateurs. It was built to tie down men like you. Kakashi didn't answer. He cut low, his Sharingan flashing, and the puppet staggered as 3 threads snapped. But before Kakashi could close, a panel in its chest snapped open. A volley of senbon hissed out like rain. Kakashi ducked, twisting midair, his blade deflecting the deadly spray. 2 grazed his vest, 1 clipped his sleeve. He landed lightly, eye narrowing. Poisoned. He's forcing me to split focus. Behind him, the fight widened. Yura stepped lightly from the shadows, her smile sharp. So the children are mine. Her hands flicked, and the air shimmered. Suddenly the dirt was blood, the wagons burning, the merchants screaming in voices not their own. Daichi staggered, staring at phantom flames crawling up his arms. Renji froze, blade wavering, as shadowy figures surrounded him. Genjutsu! Naruto barked, the word slicing through panic. He grabbed Daichi's arm and slammed his shoulder into him. Snap out of it! His chakra surged, a flare of raw will that made the illusions shiver. The flames guttered, the shadows wavered, but Yura only laughed, weaving faster. You see? Every spark is fuel for my fire. Naruto's eyes darted. Daichi breathing hard, Renji pale, merchants panicking. He ground his teeth and shouted, "Stay close! Eyes on me, not her!" He slammed his hands together, molding chakra sharp enough to bite his palms. Wind gathered around him in small bursts, not an attack, but enough to disrupt the threads of illusion. Daichi blinked, eyes clearing. Renji sucked in a breath and steadied. Good, Naruto said quickly, his tone clipped but firm. Daichi, left flank. Renji, guard the wagons. I'll keep her busy. Yura's smile widened. Bold little wolf. She flicked her fingers again, and the world seemed to tilt, knives sprouting from every direction. Naruto didn't flinch. He'd seen through them once. He'd do it again. The mega puppet screeched, one blade arm sweeping down hard enough to cleave a wagon in 2. Kakashi intercepted, his kunai sparking against steel, his other hand flashing seals in a blur. Lightning style. Fong burst. He slammed his palm against the puppet's chest. Electricity ripped across lacquer, sizzling along hidden compartments. The puppet jerked, gears grinding, smoke curling from its seams. Raisman's fingers snapped, pulling the puppet back before the damage spread. His calm cracked just enough for a flicker of irritation to cross his face. Kakashi's eye narrowed. "This puppet's good," he said, voice low. "But you're underestimating me." The words weren't bravado. They were fact. Raisman's jaw tightened. Naruto caught the exchange out of the corner of his eye as he squared off against Yura. For all his grin and bluster, his pulse hammered. This wasn't like the academy or even training. One slip here meant Daichi dead. Renji cut down, merchants slaughtered. This is the shinobi world, he thought grimly. No do-overs. You win or you don't get back up. Yura's illusions pressed again, drowning the clearing in false screams. Daichi shouted in frustration. Renji swayed on his feet. Naruto spat dust from his mouth and grinned, wide and defiant. "You'll need better tricks than that." And he threw himself forward, wind gathering in his palms like storm clouds. Yura's hands moved with liquid grace, each gesture spinning threads too fine for untrained eyes. The air rippled, and suddenly the battlefield bent sideways. Wagons burned. Merchants screamed. The oxen lay gutted in the dirt. Renji's breath caught. His blade clattered against the wagon's side. "It's there. It's not real," Naruto barked, sharp as a kunai point. He slammed his fist into Renji's shoulder. The boy staggered, blinked, and the bloody scene flickered like paint peeling off. Yura laughed lightly, her voice echoing strangely in the warped air. "Oh, but real enough to fool them. And fear kills just as surely as steel." Daichi swung wildly at a phantom bandit rushing him, his fist smashing through nothing but smoke. The illusion rippled, then doubled, now 3 more pressed in on him. He cursed, chest heaving, fury and confusion mixing in his eyes. Naruto darted between them, his feet moving with purpose. "Daichi! Right hook! There!" Daichi didn't question. He swung to the exact spot Naruto pointed, and his fist connected with something solid. The air bent. Yura's clone staggered, flickering before vanishing. Daichi blinked. How? She can't make everything perfect, Naruto said quickly, eyes scanning. Look for what doesn't move right. Trust me. Yura tilted her head, intrigued. Sharp little wolf. But how long can you keep sniffing out my lies? Her fingers flashed again. The dirt under their feet dissolved into a sucking bog, pulling them ankle-deep. Renji cried out, stumbling. Naruto clenched his teeth. He knew it wasn't real. But the drag, the cold mud, his body screamed it was truth. He bit his tongue hard, tasted copper, and barked, "Jump, now!" He forced chakra into his feet and sprang upward. Daichi followed on instinct. Renji hesitated, but Naruto caught his wrist midair and yanked him free. The bog snapped out of existence the instant his feet left the ground. They landed in a roll. Renji gasped, pale but still standing. Naruto wiped blood from his lip where he'd bitten too hard. Stay sharp. She'll use fear, not just sight. Don't give her the chance. Renji stared at him, shaken, but nodded. Daichi cracked his knuckles, grinning despite the sweat on his brow. Heh, this is nothing. I'll smash her when I get close. Yura's smile sharpened. So confident. But your little leader can't protect you forever. Her eyes glowed faintly as she layered another illusion, more subtle than before. The trees swayed unnaturally, and shadows lengthened. Naruto's breath quickened, his senses pricked. This wasn't like the burning wagons or phantom foes. This was quieter, deeper. His pulse hammered. Then he heard it, Renji's voice panicked. Naruto, look! Naruto spun. A blade jutted from his stomach. His own face stared back at him, pale and gasping, before crumpling into the dirt. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Daichi shouted. Renji's voice broke. Naruto's vision swam. It's not real. Not real. He clenched his fists, grounding himself on the rough bite of splinters from a broken wagon at his side. He forced air into his lungs. If I believe it, it'll kill me. She's feeding on fear. He inhaled sharply, chakra coiling in his gut, then expelled it in a sudden burst. A rush of wind scattered the image, shredding the illusion. His double's corpse vanished in tatters of smoke. Yura's eyes widened slightly, just slightly. Naruto grinned, fierce despite the sweat running into his eyes. Nice trick, but you'll have to do better than killing me with myself. Behind him, Daichi let out a breathless laugh, more relief than humor. Renji steadied his grip on his kunai, his hands still trembling but his stance firmer now. Naruto snapped quick orders, his voice cutting through their nerves. Daichi, don't chase her shadows. Wait for me to call. Renji, guard the wagons. Don't move until I say. Both nodded without question. Yura twitched her fingers, weaving another layer, but Naruto's grin only widened. He was watching not the illusions but her. Every twitch, every shift of her weight, every flick of her eyes gave him the truth the illusions tried to hide. You're not the only one who can pull strings, he muttered under his breath. The genjutsu deepened, phantom spears raining from above, merchants screaming, Daichi's arm torn off by an invisible strike. But Naruto's gaze stayed locked on Yura's fingers. And when her right hand curled in a sharp hook, Naruto shouted, "Left side, Daichi now!" Daichi swung wide, and his fist slammed into something solid. Yura's real clone, hiding among the illusions. The figure shattered, blood spraying as the kunoichi hissed in pain. Yura staggered back, one arm clutched to her ribs. Her smile thinned, no longer mocking but edged with anger. Naruto stood firm, chest heaving, eyes bright. Got you. Yura hissed, staggering back with blood slicking her ribs. Her illusions wavered, the phantom spears dissolving into smoke. For the first time, her playful mockery cracked. Clever brat, she spat, her voice tight with pain. Too clever. Naruto grinned despite the sweat soaking his collar. That's the point. You can't trick someone who doesn't play by your rules. Daichi whooped, pumping his fist. Yeah, we've got her on the ropes. He started forward, ready to finish it. That was when the ground shifted. A ripple ran beneath Naruto's sandals. He froze too late. The dirt at Renji's feet exploded, and a figure erupted upward like a shadow come alive. A shinobi cloaked in muted gray, his face masked, his blade already drawn in a sweep meant to kill. Renji barely had time to gasp. Steel tore across his torso in a brutal arc, shoulder to hip. Blood sprayed in a red sheet. No! Naruto's voice cracked. Renji crumpled, gasping, eyes wide with shock as crimson poured between his fingers. The merchants screamed, some dropping flat, others stumbling back with their hands over their mouths. Daichi roared, charging blindly at the new attacker. The assassin slipped aside with liquid ease, parrying with his blade and driving an elbow into Daichi's ribs. The boy wheezed, dropped to a knee, stunned. Naruto's chest went cold. Renji was on the ground, his breath short and wet. The blow hadn't killed him outright, but it was deep, far too deep. If Renji didn't get help soon, he wouldn't see another sunrise. The world sharpened into brutal clarity. This is it. This is the shinobi world. One mistake and you're bleeding out in the dirt. He felt the sting of tears, but he shoved them down with a growl. His hands clenched, nails digging into his palms until they hurt. No freezing, no time to cry. Move. Daichi! Naruto's voice cracked like a whip. The boy's head snapped up. Forget him. Guard Renji. Guard the caravan. Keep him alive until we finish this. Daichi's eyes widened, then focused. He staggered back to Renji's side, planting himself like a wall in front of the bleeding boy. His chest still heaved, pain radiating from the elbow strike, but his fists clenched tight. You're not touching him again, he snarled. The assassin turned his masked face toward Naruto, tilting it like a predator curious about new prey. His blade gleamed red with Renji's blood. Naruto's breath came hard and sharp. His mind spun, cataloging everything in heartbeats. The assassin had waited underground, patient, perfectly still, meaning he was trained in earth release or specialized stealth. His strike had been efficient, no wasted motion. His retreat after the blow showed discipline, not recklessness. Not a thug, not even a bandit shinobi. He's a killer, a real one. Naruto's grin flickered back, but this time it wasn't wild. It was tight, sharp, almost grim. You picked the wrong squad to mess with. The assassin moved first, flickering forward in a blur. His blade cut through air where Naruto's chest had been an instant earlier. Naruto rolled, sprang, fired off 3 rapid wind bullets in succession. The assassin twisted between them with minimal effort, each dodge razor close. The bullets smashed into wagons and dirt, spraying shards of wood. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Fast. Reads lines quick. Can't just blast him. He spat dust from his teeth and flashed 3 quick hand seals. Daichi, cover your eyes. Wah! Now! Daichi ducked, dragging Renji lower. Naruto inhaled deep, chakra surging hot in his chest, and exhaled with a roar. Futon. Kuro Shirajiri. The air exploded outward in a swirling rush, a cloud of black and white vapor blooming from Naruto's lungs. It rolled thick and fast, choking sight, muffling sound, turning the battlefield into a sea of shifting shadow and pale haze. Merchants cried out, coughing, blinded. Daichi shielded Renji with his body, eyes squeezed shut. The assassin froze for half a second, blade raised, uncertain. Naruto's grin widened inside the mist. Perfect. He darted low, feet whispering over dirt, his chakra signature suppressed as best he could. The mist wasn't just cover. He had tuned the wind flow to scramble chakra perception, disorienting even trained sensors. In here, the assassin lost his edge. For the first time in the fight, the advantage tilted. Naruto's mind raced, calculating paths, remembering terrain. The broken wagon to his left, the shallow pit near the oxen, the blood trail where Renji had fallen. He mapped it all in his head, every landmark a piece of the puzzle. This is my field now, my game. The assassin shifted, blade cutting through mist, expecting Naruto to come straight at him. Instead, Naruto circled wide, pressing his hand to the ground. He slid a tagged kunai silently into the dirt. Then another. Then a third. He darted again, quick and quiet. The assassin lunged at the sound. Too late. Naruto's voice came sharp from the other side. "You're not the only one who can strike from the dark." He snapped a seal and the explosive tags ignited. The kunai flared, detonations ripping through the mist in staggered bursts. The assassin staggered back, cloak torn, his blade arm bleeding where shrapnel had grazed him. His mask tilted toward Naruto, and for the first time, there was hesitation in his stance. Naruto's chest heaved, his grin sharp despite the blood on his lip. Brains and brawn, that's what it takes. That's what makes a shinobi. The battlefield swirled with poison mist, illusions, and the heavy clang of steel on steel. Kakashi's Sharingan spun as he wove between the mega puppet's bladed arms. Sparks flared each time kunai met poisoned steel, his movements precise enough that he seemed to exist a half-breath ahead of the puppet's attacks. Raisman's hands danced, threads gleaming in the faint light. The puppet lashed out with a hidden scythe, aiming for Kakashi's flank, while a panel in its chest snapped open to release another volley of poisoned sunbon. Kakashi twisted, chakra flaring in his legs, and vaulted clean over the spray. He landed lightly on the puppet's shoulder, his kunai already slicing 3 threads before flipping free of its reach. "You're wasting effort," he said flatly. "I've already seen the pattern. This puppet won't hold me long." Raisman's mouth twitched, the faintest sign of strain. His hands blurred faster, forcing the puppet into a frenzy. The massive arms scythed down at Kakashi, the forest shaking with each impact. But the Jonin's gaze flicked elsewhere for just a fraction of a second. Through the haze of his student's black and white mist, Kakashi saw Daichi crouched protectively over Renji's bleeding body, merchants huddled in terror. He saw Naruto darting like a phantom, his chakra precise, using the mist like a second skin. He also saw Yura's fingers weaving subtle patterns, her smile returning as she prepared to drag the entire squad back into a nightmare of illusions. Kakashi's jaw tightened. If she keeps them in her grip, Naruto can't finish that fight. And if Naruto falters, Renji dies. Decision was instant. His hands came together. Lightning screamed to life, crackling sharp and blue, illuminating the field with its glow. The merchants shrank back at the sudden light. Even the assassin froze, momentarily wary. "Raikiri," Kakashi murmured. The air split with the sound of 1,000 birds. Raisman's eyes widened as Kakashi blurred forward, but not toward him. He pivoted across the battlefield in a single flash, faster than the puppeteer could redirect. Yura's smile faltered as she caught the flicker of silver and blue in the corner of her vision. She twisted, illusions flaring, phantom doubles, false trails, but Kakashi's Sharingan cut through them all. He was already there, his hand a blade of pure lightning. The kunoichi's eyes widened. The crackling point of Raikiri drove straight through her chest. For an instant, the battlefield went silent. Her illusions shattered, the burning wagons and phantom blood vanishing like smoke in the wind. The merchants blinked, dazed, as the world resolved into nothing but mist, blood, and the raw stink of ozone. Kakashi pulled his arm back, Yura's body crumpling boneless to the dirt. Her smile lingered faintly even in death, but her eyes were glass. Naruto stared from across the haze, his breath catching. He had seen men fall in this fight, the brute, the assassin strike on Renji, but this was different. This was Kakashi, cutting down an enemy with the precision of a thunderclap. No hesitation, no second chance. Daichi's face paled. The merchants gasped. Kakashi shook the crackling remnants of Raikiri from his fingers. His single eye, cold and calm, fixed back on Raisman. "Your games end here." The puppeteer's composure cracked at last. His lips peeled back in something between a snarl and a grimace. His fingers jerked hard, and the mega puppet lunged with renewed savagery, its blades carving furrows into the earth. "You dare!" Raisman's voice, usually calm as still water, rang sharp with fury. "She was mine, and you snuffed her like a spark." Kakashi didn't flinch. He slid low, Sharingan whirling, his kunai slicing through another cluster of threads. She stepped into the battlefield. She knew the price. The mega puppet's jaw clattered open, spewing a jet of poison mist. Kakashi cut sideways, his chakra flaring into another burst of lightning that scattered the gas before it reached the caravan. Raisman's threads sang taut, his control frantic. His calm precision was gone, replaced by raw emotion. The puppet staggered as Kakashi pressed harder, slicing apart joint after joint with surgical strikes. From behind his mask, Kakashi's voice was quiet, almost pitying. "This is the difference between us. I adapt. You break." But even as he spoke, his gaze flicked briefly toward the other side of the battlefield, where Naruto's mist churned and the assassin still stalked. "Naruto, it's your fight now." The Jonin's attention snapped back to Raisman, his blade flashing as sparks rained from the mega puppet's torn frame. The black and white mist swirled thick and heavy, wrapping the world in shifting shadows. Even the merchants, crouched low behind wagons, couldn't tell where friend ended and foe began. Only Naruto moved with certainty. He felt the assassin's presence like a pressure in the air, faint, sharp, like the edge of a blade brushing his skin. The man moved without wasted steps, each soundless, each precise. Naruto forced his breath low and steady, crouching near the ruined wagon he'd marked earlier. He placed a hand on the wood, grounding himself. "He's faster, stronger, sharper. But I know this field better. I made it mine." A flicker, steel whispering through mist. Naruto jerked aside as the assassin's blade cut where his spine had been an instant earlier. He answered with a wind bullet, quick and sharp. The blast clipped the assassin's mask, cracking it down the side. The man's head tilted, and Naruto caught a glimpse of one cold eye through the split. No anger, no mockery, just focus. "He's like a machine," Naruto thought grimly. "He'll keep coming until I stop him for good." The assassin vanished into the mist again. Naruto tracked the faint shift in pressure, the tiniest scuff of dirt, and spun. He flung two kunai laced with wire into the haze. A blade cut one in half, but the second wrapped around the assassin's forearm. Naruto yanked hard, and the man stumbled just enough. "Now!" Naruto spat, flying through seals. Futon. Bullet barrage. Air cracked as a cluster of wind bullets hammered through the mist. The assassin twisted, blade flicking, dodging most, but one caught his thigh, punching clean through muscle. He staggered. Naruto's grin was sharp and fierce. "He bleeds." But the assassin adapted instantly. He dropped a smoke bomb of his own, mixing its choking gray with Naruto's mist. The currents tangled. The air grew thick and foul. Naruto's lungs burned. The man's blade came again, faster this time. Naruto barely ducked. The edge kissed his cheek, hot blood running down his face. He growled, shoving the sting aside. "Too close. He's not just attacking. He's testing me, pressing me, trying to break me down bit by bit." "Fine. Then he'd break him first." Naruto exhaled sharply, forcing more chakra into the mist. The white rolled denser, the black darker, swallowing sight entirely. For a moment, even sound dulled. The assassin hesitated, his sharp precision faltering. Naruto's grin returned. "Good. You can't read what isn't there." He slipped low, crawling across dirt until he reached the second kunai trap he'd set earlier. He flicked the wire loose and circled wide, keeping to the landmarks he'd memorized. The pit, the broken wagon, the blood trail. The assassin stepped carefully, blade raised. His eyes scanned, but in the suffocating mist, even his senses dulled. That was the moment. Naruto's chakra surged. He snapped a seal. The wire trap ignited, an explosive tag flaring bright. The blast rocked the field, smoke and shrapnel tearing through the mist. The assassin staggered, cloak ripped, his arm bleeding freely now. Naruto didn't give him time to recover. He launched forward, wind chakra wrapping his fist. The assassin parried, their strikes ringing sharp in the haze. But Naruto pressed, faster than the man expected, every movement sharp with intent. He wasn't just swinging wildly, he was aiming for joints, for balance points, for weak spots in the man's stance. It was like watching a child fight with a veteran's eye. The assassin slashed for Naruto's gut. Naruto twisted, caught the man's wrist, and slammed his forehead into the cracked mask. The assassin reeled back, stunned. Naruto leapt, inhaled deep, and spat a single, concentrated wind bullet at point-blank range. The blast punched into the assassin's chest, hurling him backward into the ground. The man skidded, coughing blood, his blade tumbling free. For the first time, Naruto saw something flicker in that cold eye. Surprise. Naruto landed, chest heaving, blood still dripping from his cheek. His grin split wide despite the sting. Not so scary when you're the one cornered, huh? The assassin rolled to his knees, breath ragged, but his blade hand shook. He staggered, tried to rise, and Naruto's gaze hardened. He didn't hesitate. He flicked 3 kunai, each one whistling through the mist. One pinned the assassin's cloak to the ground. The second sliced his arm. The third lodged deep in his shoulder. The man slumped, breath shallow, beaten. Naruto stood tall, panting, every muscle trembling with exhaustion. But his eyes burned. Brains, brawn, will, that's what it takes. That's what I am. From the other side of the battlefield, Daichi shouted, voice raw, Naruto, Renji's still. He's still bleeding bad. Naruto's head snapped around, heart pounding. His grin slipped, replaced by grim urgency. The assassin groaned faintly, blood seeping into the dirt. Naruto spared him only one last glare. Stay down. He turned and sprinted back toward his teammates, the mist swirling after him. The mega puppet's arms carved gouges into the earth, poison scythes whistling through the dusk. Kakashi moved between the strikes like water through stone, Sharingan spinning, every step precise. His kunai flashed, cutting threads so thin they shimmered like spider silk. Raisman's fingers blurred faster, chakra threads jerking taut. His calm mask had cracked, his teeth clenched, his breath sharp. Damn you, Hatake! You shouldn't be able to follow them all. Kakashi ducked another sweeping blade and slid under the puppet's frame. His hand shot out, lightning sparking. Raiden! The jolt surged through lacquered wood, frying internal gears. Smoke hissed out of its joints, the stench of scorched poison filling the air. The puppet staggered, one arm drooping uselessly. Raisman snarled and yanked his threads, forcing the remaining limbs into a frenzy. The puppet spun, scythes carving arcs meant to mow down anything within reach. A wagon's corner split clean off, merchants screaming as oxen bucked against their harnesses. Kakashi was already there, intercepting. He planted his feet, kunai braced, and deflected one blade wide enough for the merchants to scramble back. His eye flicked, cold and sharp. You're done here. Raisman's face twisted. No, you'll bleed like the rest of them. His threads snapped tighter, and the puppet's chest compartment cracked open, revealing a cluster of hidden launchers. A second volley of senbon spat outward, faster, denser, a storm of poisoned steel. The Jonin's hands blurred. A scroll flicked open from his vest, sealing lines glowing as he swept it across the arc, barrier seal. Wind repel. A wall of chakra burst outward, scattering the storm wide. Senbon clattered harmlessly into trees and dirt. Kakashi exhaled slowly, closing the scroll. Tricks and poison. That's all you are. The Sharingan whirled. Kakashi's body blurred. He was inside the puppet's guard in an instant, kunai slicing low. 5 threads snapped at once. The puppet lurched, half its body collapsing. Raisman's breath hitched. Sweat slid down his temple. His hands shook, just once. Kakashi's eye narrowed. You feel that? That's the gap between us. You rely on a tool. I am the blade. The puppeteer bit down a snarl. His calm, calculating air had been stripped away, replaced by raw fury. You think this is over? I'll cut down your precious brats before your eye can turn. He jerked his hands, and the puppet's head twisted toward the mist-shrouded battlefield where Naruto had vanished with the assassin. Its jaw cracked open, poison mist hissing as it built in its throat. Kakashi's heart kicked once. Naruto. Lightning flared in his palm before thought finished. Raikiri. He surged forward, faster than Raisman's threads could drag the puppet's jaw into line. The lightning blade carved straight through the puppet's chest, exploding out its back in a shower of wood and steel. The machine screeched, then collapsed in on itself, lifeless. Raisman staggered from the backlash of severed threads, blood spraying from his lips. His hands trembled, shaking with the recoil. For a moment he was still. Then his head snapped up, his eyes burning with a fury Kakashi hadn't seen until now. "You!" His voice was raw, ragged. "You dare take her from me? You dare break my art?" His calm composure was gone. His face twisted into something desperate, hateful. Kakashi slid his kunai back into his grip, Sharingan glowing red in the twilight. His voice stayed flat. "You were never my equal, but I'll grant you this much. You forced me to take you seriously." Raisman's threads coiled, fresh chakra flooding into the air, sharp enough to sting. The earth around him vibrated with killing intent. Kakashi shifted his stance, blade low, ready. His mind, even now, flicked once toward his students. "Naruto, hold steady, because this ends now." The mist thinned at last, curling in tatters across the road. Naruto staggered out of it, chest heaving, blood dripping from the cut on his cheek. Behind him, the assassin lay pinned to the dirt, 3 kunai anchoring him, his breath shallow and ragged. Naruto didn't look back. His eyes went straight to where Daichi crouched. Renji was pale as parchment, his breath shallow and wet. Blood soaked his tunic, pooling beneath him despite Daichi's shaking hands pressing cloth into the wound. "Stay with me, Renji," Daichi barked, voice breaking. You're not dying here." The merchants wept openly, some praying, others clutching each other in fear. Their relief at surviving the ambush was poisoned by the sight of a child shinobi bleeding out in the dirt. Naruto's stomach turned cold. He had won his fight, outsmarted a killer thrice his age, but it didn't matter if Renji's eyes closed and never opened again. This is what being a shinobi means, he thought, teeth gritted. It's not just about fighting. It's about whether your team makes it home. He dropped to his knees beside them, pressing his hands over Daichi's. "Tighter. Don't let up. He's still breathing. That means we still fight for him." Daichi blinked at him, sweat and blood streaking his face, then nodded fiercely. Above the wagons, steel shrieked. Kakashi's Raikiri tore through the mega puppet's chest, the machine collapsing in a ruin of shattered wood and poisoned gears. The copy ninja straightened, Sharingan glowing in the dusk, his blade steady. Across from him, Raisman staggered, blood on his lips, his hands trembling from the recoil of severed threads. His calm was gone, his mask of indifference shattered. Fury twisted his features. "You took her," he snarled, voice ragged. "You broke my art. You killed my partner." Kakashi's tone was quiet, flat. She knew what battlefield she walked onto. Raisman's eyes blazed. He lashed his remaining threads, fresh chakra pouring into the air like poison. "If I can't win, Hatake, then I'll take something precious from you. Let's see how your prodigy screams when I gut him in front of you." Naruto stiffened, glancing up sharply. Daichi cursed, shielding Renji as best he could. The merchants whimpered. Kakashi shifted his stance, blade low, lightning crackling faintly at his fingertips. "You won't touch him." But Naruto was already rising, blood streaked on his face, his grin faint but fierce. "He won't, sensei, because I'm not done yet." For a heartbeat, silence hung heavy. The assassin groaned faintly in the mist's remnants. Renji's ragged breath rasped under Daichi's trembling hands. Merchants clutched each other, eyes wide. And then the battlefield seemed to hold its breath, every thread pulled taut. Raisman's fury sharpened into focus. Kakashi's Sharingan flared. Naruto's chakra pulsed, wind stirring at his heels. The next move would decide everything. Chapter 6, Threads Unraveled. The battlefield held its breath. Renji bled on the dirt, Daichi crouched over him, merchants frozen in terror. The assassin lay pinned in Naruto's mist, rasping for air. And at the center, Raisman stood trembling, his threads quivering like a storm of glass wires in the fading light. His calm mask was gone. His face was twisted, sweat and blood streaking his pale skin. The death of Yura and the collapse of his puppet had stripped him bare. "You dare!" he rasped, his voice breaking into a snarl. "You dare kill her! You dare break my art!" Kakashi's single eye never wavered. His Sharingan glowed faint red, unblinking, calm as a pond's surface. "You should have walked away, Raisman." The puppeteer's hands snapped outward, threads lashing. Every broken shard of his mega puppet twitched, then rose into the air. Scattered blades, splintered arms, jagged gears, vials of poison, all yanked into a whirling orbit around him. The forest rang with the screech of metal grinding against itself. The merchants shrieked and ducked behind wagons. Daichi hunched lower over Renji, his teeth clenched. Naruto stiffened, fists clenching at his sides. Even he could feel it, the sheer malice burning through every thread, every fragment pulled into Raisman's storm. "Stay down," Kakashi barked over his shoulder, his tone sharp as steel. Then he blurred forward, kunai drawn. The storm surged to meet him. Blades whipped like scythes, gears spun like saws, vials shattered midair to release clouds of acrid green. Threads hissed and snapped taut, weaving death in all directions. Kakashi moved through it like water through reeds. His Sharingan spun, reading the trajectory of each thread, each weapon. Kunai flashed, parrying, cutting, severing the thinnest lines in bursts of speed too fast for ordinary eyes to follow. Raisman's face contorted. "You think you can cut them all? You think the copy ninja's eye is enough?" His hands jerked, and two side blades slashed from opposite sides, meant to shear Kakashi in half. Kakashi ducked low, chakra flaring in his legs, and vaulted up the puppet shards like stepping stones. His kunai sliced as he moved, each cut severing more of the frantic web. He landed lightly on a broken puppet shoulder, his eye narrowing. "Your tricks are already dead." Lightning flared in his palm, bright enough to paint the dusk in sharp blue. "Raikiri!" The shriek of 1,000 birds filled the clearing. Raisman yanked his hands desperately, threads snapping taut as he hurled the storm into Kakashi's path. Blades, gears, poison all at once. Kakashi lunged through, Sharingan guiding every motion. His body blurred as he twisted and slipped, Raikiri carving a path through the storm. Sparks showered, poison burned away in the light. In a heartbeat, Kakashi was on him. Raisman's eyes widened, his threads flaring one last time. The lightning blade pierced his chest, bursting out his back in a spray of light and blood. For a moment, silence. The storm of puppet shards clattered lifeless to the dirt. Raisman staggered, lips trembling, blood bubbling in his throat. His hands shook, threads snapping away one by one. "You, damn you," he whispered, eyes locking onto Kakashi's. "Do you think this ends here? Do you think Konoha will not pay?" His lips twisted in a dying grin. "The sand has more strings than you'll ever cut." Kakashi's arm withdrew, the light fading. He stepped back as the puppeteer crumpled, lifeless threads trailing from his fingers. The battlefield exhaled, a heavy silence settling like ash. Naruto stared, breath caught. He had seen Kakashi kill before, but this was different. There was no hesitation, no mercy, no theatrics, only cold, perfect efficiency. This is what it means to be a Jonin, he thought, throat tight. This is what it means to survive every war. Kakashi stood over the corpse, his kunai lowered, his eye unreadable. But inside, one thought flickered sharp and cold. He wasn't lying. This wasn't just banditry. The sand is pulling strings. The storm of threads and blades died with Raisman. The clearing was still again, broken only by the crackle of fading lightning and the ragged breath of survivors. But the silence didn't last. A low rasp broke it, wet, uneven but still sharp enough to cut. Naruto's head snapped around. Through the thinning mist, the wounded assassin pushed himself upright. Kunai still pinned his cloak and shoulder, blood soaked his chest, yet his one cold eye still burned with killing intent. "Damn it," Daichi whispered, pressing harder on Renji's wound. "He's still." The assassin moved. He tore the kunai from his shoulder with a wet rip, blood splattering across the dirt. His blade gleamed as he staggered forward, each step driven by sheer will. Naruto's pulse slammed in his ears. He should be finished. No one should be able to move after that. But this wasn't just a man. This was a shinobi who had killed and killed again. Even half dead, he wasn't done. The assassin's eye locked onto Renji, bleeding and helpless. His steps quickened, blade raised. No! Naruto's body moved before thought caught up. He darted between the assassin and his teammates, feet planting firm. Chakra roared in his gut, his hands already flashing through seals. Kuro Shirajiri. The mist exploded outward again, a tide of black and white swallowing the clearing. The assassin's charge faltered as vision vanished, sound dulled. Even the faint taste of iron turned confusing. Naruto exhaled hard, forcing the haze wider, blanketing Daichi and Renji in its protective shroud. You won't reach them, not while I'm still breathing. The assassin snarled low in his throat, blade cutting through air. He shifted, steps predatory, listening, feeling. Even wounded, his instincts were deadly sharp. Naruto crouched low, heart hammering, mind racing. He's too fast, even injured. I can't trade blows. I have to end it. His fingers brushed wire as he palmed two kunai. He moved quietly, circling wide, every step mapped in his head. The broken wagon 2 paces left, the pit 3 behind, the jagged tree root just ahead. A whisper of steel sliced past his ear. The assassin had guessed, lunging into the mist. Naruto ducked, rolling, then lashed out with wire. It looped around the man's blade arm. The assassin jerked free, but the half-second was enough. Naruto threw another kunai, line snapping taut. This time it tangled around his leg, slowing him. Naruto's breath came fast. Now! He inhaled sharply, chakra burning through his lungs. His chest swelled, then he spat. Futon. Bullet barrage. The air cracked with a cluster of wind bullets, each one sharp and fast as steel. They tore through the mist, whistling like gunfire. The assassin twisted, blade flashing. He deflected one, sidestepped another, but his wounded leg dragged. One bullet punched into his chest. Another slammed through his shoulder. A third cracked his mask fully apart, exposing half his bloodied face. He staggered, blood spraying, yet still he lifted his blade. Naruto's teeth clenched. He won't stop, not until I... His grin came, fierce and sharp. Then I'll stop him. He exhaled, mist swirling. His hands flicked a final seal. Chakra surged. The mist twisted suddenly, a downdraft pulling all currents toward the assassin. For a split second, the man's vision cleared, just in time to see Naruto springing out of the haze, kunai in hand, wind chakra sharpening its edge to a razor. Not this time, Naruto roared. The kunai drove into the assassin's chest, straight through the point where the first wind bullet had torn him open. The man gasped, blood bursting from his lips. His blade fell clattering to the ground. His body trembled once, then slumped forward. Naruto ripped the kunai free, panting hard, his chest burning from chakra drain and effort. He let the body drop, staring down at it. For a long moment he just stood there, listening to the ringing silence. Then Daichi's voice cracked through it. And Naruto, he's dead. Naruto turned his head, still breathing sharp. He nodded once, firm. He's not getting up again. Daichi sagged in relief, clutching Renji tighter. Naruto crouched by the corpse, wiping blood from his face with the back of his hand. His grin had faded, replaced with something harder, steadier. He was going to kill them. If I hadn't ended it... His stomach twisted, but he forced the thought down. This was the shinobi world. Mercy here meant graves. He stood, facing Daichi and Renji. It's over. We made it. But as he said it, his eyes flicked to Renji's pale face, the blood still seeping despite Daichi's efforts. Victory didn't feel like victory at all. The last echoes of steel faded. The clearing reeked of blood, poison, and burned lacquer. For the first time since the ambush, silence truly settled. Naruto wiped his kunai clean on the grass, his chest heaving. The assassin's body lay still at his feet, half his mask shattered. The killing intent that had burned so fiercely moments ago snuffed out like a candle. Naruto swallowed hard. His first real kill. He'd won. They'd survived. So why did his gut twist like he'd swallowed stone? Renji! Daichi's panicked voice snapped him back. Naruto spun. Renji still lay crumpled on the dirt, his tunic dark with blood. Daichi's hands shook as he pressed cloth hard against the wound, his face streaked with sweat and grime. Kakashi was already there, kneeling. His gloves were slick with blood as he worked with steady precision. "Hold him still," he ordered quietly. Naruto dropped beside them without hesitation. "What do you need?" Kakashi's eye flicked up, cool and sharp even now. "Pressure, steady. Don't let it slip." Naruto pressed his hands against the wound, firm but even, ignoring the warmth of blood seeping through his fingers. Renji's breath hitched, wet and shallow. "Stay with us, Renji," Naruto said fiercely. "You hear me? You don't get to quit here." Daichi's jaw clenched, tears stinging his eyes. Damn it. Damn it. Why did he take the hit and not me? "Quiet," Kakashi cut in, voice soft but unyielding. His chakra flared faintly, his hands glowing as he pressed seals over the wound. A pale green light shimmered, slowing the flow of blood. "He's not gone. Focus." The light dimmed as Kakashi withdrew his hands, breathing out slowly. "I've sealed it enough to stop the bleeding, but it's temporary. He needs a medic soon. Another deep fight and he won't make it." Daichi sagged, relief and despair mixing. "So he'll live." Kakashi's eye lingered on Renji's pale face. "If we get him back fast, yes." Naruto let out a shaky breath. His hands were still covered in Renji's blood. He stared at them for a long second before curling them into fists. "I killed an assassin. I outsmarted him. I won. But even then, my teammate almost died." It hit him harder than the battle itself. Fighting wasn't enough. Victory didn't mean safety. A single mistake could still steal someone from you, even if you did everything right. His chest ached, sharper than any wound. Kakashi's voice cut through his thoughts, quieter now. "You did well, Naruto. Both of you." Naruto blinked up at him. "We almost lost him." Kakashi's eye softened, just slightly. "You kept him alive long enough for me to work. That's all anyone can ask on the field. We're shinobi, not gods." Daichi's head dropped, his fists tight on his knees. Naruto looked back down at Renji, his face drawn and pale, his breath shallow but steady. "So this is the shinobi world. Winning isn't enough. It's who comes home that matters." Naruto exhaled, his expression hardening. He would remember this. Every mission, every fight. "Sensei," Daichi croaked, his voice rough. "What do we do now?" Kakashi rose, scanning the battlefield with his Sharingan still glowing. "First, we secure the area. Then we move. Slowly, carefully. Renji can't be jostled." Naruto stood, wiping blood from his cheek with the back of his hand. His grin didn't come back this time. Only determination burned in his eyes. "I'll carry him." Daichi glanced at him, startled. "You?" Naruto didn't wait for argument. He crouched, sliding Renji gently across his back, securing him with careful hands. Renji groaned faintly but didn't stir further. Naruto tightened his grip, rising smoothly. Renji's weight was nothing compared to the weight settling in his chest. He looked at Kakashi, his voice low but steady. "Just point the way." For a moment, Kakashi studied him. The blood on his hands, the steadiness in his stance, the quiet fire in his eyes. He gave a small nod. Naruto wasn't just a prodigy. He was already carrying more than most shinobi twice his age. The clearing was still again, but the echoes of battle lingered. And with them, the unshakable truth. Not all of them had walked away untouched. The caravan moved again, slowly, the air heavy with fear and exhaustion. Merchants clung close to their wagons, whispering prayers as they skirted around shattered wood and poisoned earth. Daichi walked stiffly beside Naruto, who bore Renji on his back, the wounded boy's breath shallow against his shoulder. Kakashi lingered behind, his gaze flicking once more to the corpse sprawled in the clearing. Raisman's lifeless body lay twisted among broken puppet parts, threads still clinging weakly to the wreckage. He was too skilled, too well-supplied, too informed, Kakashi thought, his eye narrowing. This wasn't the work of a true missing nin. He crouched beside the body, gloved hands careful as he sifted through the fragments. Most of the tools were common enough: blades, vials of poison, splintered lacquer. But beneath the shattered chest cavity of the megapuppet, his fingers brushed something sealed. A compartment, hidden. Kakashi's kunai slid in with practiced ease. The panel popped open with a faint hiss. Inside rested a scroll, tightly wound and sealed in wax. He lifted it free. The wax bore the faint imprint of the puppet brigade's insignia, a sun and thread emblem Kakashi had last seen in the Third War. His breath stilled. Carefully, he unrolled it, scanning the jagged script. At first glance, it looked meaningless, but his Sharingan picked out the patterns. Cipher. Puppet Brigade cipher. The kind of code you didn't find outside Suna's highest circles. He deciphered quickly, his eye narrowing as the words took shape. Target: caravan through riverlands. Objective: disrupt leaf trade. Opposition: Hatake Kakashi, copy ninja. Additional note: Jinchuriki child present. Kakashi's hand tightened around the scroll. Not just a raid, not just sabotage. They had known who would be here. They had named Naruto specifically. A chill settled in his chest. So it's true. The sand is playing this game already, and they're willing to risk exposing themselves to strike at us. He rolled the scroll tight again, sliding it into his vest. His expression didn't change as he stood, but his thoughts cut sharp and cold. The genin couldn't see this. Not yet. Daichi was already shaken. Renji was fighting for his life. And Naruto. Kakashi's gaze flicked ahead, where the boy trudged steadily, Renji on his back, his face grim but steady. Naruto was already carrying too much weight for his age. You'll learn the truth in time, Naruto. But not here. Not when it would crush the fire you need. Still, Kakashi knew he couldn't keep this hidden forever. The Hokage needed to see this. And once he did, the game would change. He cast one last glance at Raisman's body. The puppeteer's dying words echoed faintly in his mind. The sand has more strings than you'll ever cut. Perhaps it was true, but Kakashi had cut enough threads in his life to know this much. Every web, no matter how intricate, had a center. And when Konoha found it, the sand would bleed. For now, though, there was only one priority. He strode forward, catching up to his students. Naruto met his eye briefly, determination burning despite the blood and exhaustion on his face. Kakashi gave the smallest nod. No words, just acknowledgement. Naruto's chin lifted slightly, as if that single nod had steadied him more than any reassurance could. The scroll pressed cold against Kakashi's ribs as they walked. Proof of Suna's betrayal. Proof that this ambush had been no accident. And proof that war's shadow was closer than anyone in Konoha yet realized. By the time the caravan reached the Riverlands village, dusk had deepened into full night. Lanterns flickered on porches as farmers and townsfolk came out to meet them. Their gasps and exclamations filled the square as they saw the battered wagons, the pale, stretchered boy, and the weary shinobi escorting them. Bandits? One merchant blurted when asked. His voice shook as he pointed at Naruto and Daichi. No, not bandits. Shinobi, monsters, and these children fought them like veterans. Whispers spread like wildfire. Awe, fear, reverence. In the eyes of the merchants, Konoha had proven its reputation anew. Even its youngest could stare down killers and survive. Daichi walked stiffly beside the stretcher, his fists clenched, his eyes red but proud. Renji lay atop it, breathing shallow but steady under bandaged cloth. Every bump made him groan faintly, but he lived. That alone was victory. Naruto trailed just behind, his steps measured. His cheek was still cut, his knuckles raw, his chakra drained. Yet he carried himself upright, shoulders squared, gaze forward. It wasn't the grin that had once lit his face in every spar or boast. It was quieter, sharper. A boy's fire tempered into something closer to steel. Kakashi observed silently from the rear, one hand in his pocket, the other resting near his hip. The ciphered scroll pressed cold against his vest. Proof of Suna's betrayal. Proof that this had never been chance. But he didn't let his thoughts show. His single eye softened as it lingered on Naruto. The boy had stood in the fire and walked out not just alive, but stronger. And he was learning the hardest lesson of all, that survival carried weight. Naruto looked once over his shoulder at the empty road behind them. The mist had long since faded, but he could still feel it clinging to him. The assassin's stare. Raisman's last words. The weight of Renji's blood on his hands. I won. But winning wasn't enough. Next time I have to be more. Stronger. Smarter. Enough so no one falls behind. His hands clenched at his sides, resolve burning hot in his chest. If the world wanted to target him, if villages in the shadows were already pulling strings to see him dead, then so be it. He would grow faster, fight harder, climb higher, until no thread, no web, no enemy could hold him down. Kakashi's gaze narrowed faintly, as if he could read that thought plain on Naruto's face. And for once, he didn't try to ease it. He only let the silence hold, letting the boy carry the weight himself. The caravan rolled into the safety of the village gates. Relief spread through the merchants, gratitude spilling over in hurried bows and thanks. But Naruto hardly heard them. His eyes were fixed forward, toward Konoha. Toward the path that lay ahead. Somewhere beyond the desert, in the heart of Suna, unseen hands pulled more strings. But Naruto's resolve was already set. Next time, he would cut them all.